Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. What's Open Mic? Well, you see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save some time to take live questions from the audience, but you know, we like taking all live questions here on the weekend, so that's what we're here to do, is to take nothing but all your live questions this weekend. I just got to make sure I get my mic working properly. Oop, that's a little bit too hot. And that's about just right there. Okay, guys, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are all having a marvelous, fabulous start to your weekend. I know I have. Ann and I got to go out this morning, hit the gym, had a little bit of breakfast. Things are good. Get to watch my Patriots play tomorrow. I'm recording a UFC event right now, so I get to watch the UFC once we're done. It's all turning up Campea today. It's a good day. And listen, guys, we're going to spend today talking about the things you guys want to talk about, so let's not waste any time and jump on over and get things started, shall we? And we're going to start things off with, where are we at here? Tom Wyenberg, who writes, watched Her last night. Brilliant film. Thought it was a brilliant way to explore themes of relationships and love, but John, I'm scared for our future now. Hey, listen, there have been a lot of movies. The neat thing about Her is that it layers the different subtexts of multiple themes that it's actually trying to address. Reliance on technology, where we could be going, the nature of relationships, and what is affection, what is that, what elicits emotional responses. It's something that does all that, and a movie in which Scarlett Johansson got some buzz for an Academy Award for a movie she doesn't even appear in. You just hear her voice, but a lot of people thought maybe she could get an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor for something like that. Of course, showing off Joaquin Phoenix and all that kind of stuff. But it's a wonderful, wonderful film. I'm glad you had a chance to get caught up on it. And yeah, it does speak to, you know, what kind of future are we setting up for ourselves? All right. C.E. Nelson writes, top 10 in random order. Gladiator, Unforgiven, Blow. I haven't seen that one on here. Heat, The Shawshank Redemption, obviously. Man on Fire. You know what's funny? Man on Fire has popped up far more on these top 10 lists than I would have ever expected, CE. Seriously. It's really been neat to see. Like, if you had asked me, hey, John, you're going to start asking people for their top 10s, and you're going to see Man on Fire pop up a lot, I would have said, no. I mean, Man on Fire is a great movie, but I don't think anybody would have it in their top 10. A lot more people do than I would have expected. Anyway, Titanic, Saving Private Ryan, Rambo 2, Malcolm X. Now, I love Malcolm X. If I had to put a Rambo film in my top 10, me personally, it's First Blood, which is a very different movie from all the other Rambo films, but that's probably the one I go with. But very eclectic mix there, CE. I like it. Well done, sir. All right. Nathan Oswald writes, The Human Spider, that's it. That's the best you got. Oh, that sucks. I don't know what we're talking about, Nathan. Sorry about that, buddy. Shattergate, is that a quote? If that's a quote, guys, please, if you're going to quote a movie, make sure you put quotes around it, but I don't know if that's a quote or not. Sorry about that, Nathan. I don't know what we're talking about. Sorry, dude. Shattergate Studios writes, the reviews for Irishman have made me so happy. Yeah, I heard that whole thing. Let me look this up. The Irishman. And let me look up the reviews, because I've heard the reviews are coming in very strong. I'm not seeing a rating for it yet. Oh, there we are. Okay, get this. 41 reviews, 100%. It's not like 10 or 11 reviews. 41 reviews, 100%. Should we be surprised? It's Scorsese. And you know, I doubted there was a time that I doubted Irishman, because I was like, hey, if all the studios passed on it, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, a couple months ago, we talked about it on the show, a friend of mine said, but Campea, what if what if it's not an issue of the quality of the script? What if it's just that the studios are looking at it and don't think it can make money? Like, it could still be brilliant and not make money. And I went, okay, you know what? That's a good point. Because Scorsese himself has made several really good films. One recent one, for example, I believe is called Silence, with Liam Neeson, Andrew Garfield. That movie's fantastic. Made no money. So my friend brought that point up to me, and I go, you know, okay, that could be it. That could be it. And it looks like he was right, because 41 reviews in, 100%, things are looking good. Shattergate Studios writes, 20 dwarves took turns doing handstands on the carpet. Again, no idea. That one's going right over my head. I'm not picking that one up. All right. Anthony Lukulanu writes, went and saw The Nightingale by Jennifer Kent today. A great but tough watch. Definitely recommend. Have you seen it? I have not seen it. I've not seen it, as a matter of fact. But you're not the first person, if I'm thinking of the right film. Hold a second. If I'm thinking of the right film, you're not the first person to bring that up to me. Hold a second here. Somebody else wrote in, this is a film from like last year, I believe. Hold on a second while I wait for it to pop up. There it is. Nightingale by Jennifer Kent. I have not seen it. I know it's got Sam Claflin in it, who is the dude from the Hunger Games. And he's done other stuff besides Hunger Games. So he was in Hunger Games too, but I have not seen it myself, but I've heard good things. I'm pretty positive it never got it didn't get any sort of a theatrical release, but I've heard good things about it. Anyway, thanks for the recommendation, Anthony. All right, Infinity War for Life writes, R.I.P. boiled water, you will be missed. I get it. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I get it. You will be missed. Okay, that's clever. I'll give that one to you, Infinity. That one was clever. All right. Nathan Oswald writes, something about subtraction just doesn't add up. You guys. All right. Lone Wolf X6 writes, somebody save me. Guess the orgy got bigger. I don't know what we're talking about. Sorry, Lone Wolf. I feel like that's 5 in a row now. Darth Wayne 97 writes, Deadline is saying Disney will co-finance 25% of a third Homecoming movie for a 25% equity stake. Should we believe this? Because THR and Variety isn't running this. It's only Deadline. Okay. It's interesting you bring that up because let me pull this up here a second. Let me just bring up the Deadline article here. So here's the thing. Variety, this has been very... So when we did the show yesterday, that information that Disney was contributing to Sony, was contributing to the Spider-Man movie, that wasn't there. Okay, so here's the thing. Variety is saying... Let me bring up the Variety one here. Variety is saying that Marvel and Disney will receive blah, 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 blah. Let me find... Okay. What Variety writes is Disney will retain its merchandising rights and put up roughly a quarter of the financing. Which, to me, may or may not mean a co-financing deal. Because, like, for instance, I was talking on Discord with somebody the other day. Here's an example. You can give me $1,000 towards buying my new car, but that's different than you being a co-signee on the financing for the car, in which case you now have some ownership claim over the car. So, like, if you just give me $1,000 that I can put towards my car, you have no ownership claim. If you co-sign at the dealership with me, you now have some ownership stake in the car. So when I read the Variety one, which came out after we did our show, I was like, well, it doesn't actually say co-financing deal. And I've said for a long time, the one thing Sony cannot do is get into a co-financing situation with Disney, because if you get into a legit co-financing situation with Disney, you are giving up part of your rights to the Spider-Man character. And that is the one thing they can't do. You can give them 50% of the profits if you want, but you cannot allow them to co-finance. So I read the Variety article, because this all of a sudden I'm getting very confused. I'm like, wait a minute. Did Sony give away some of their rights to Spider-Man? Because that is the one thing they cannot do. Were they that dumb? Were they that dumb that they gave away part of the ownership to it? So I read over the Variety thing, and it doesn't look like that. It just looks like Sony has agreed. What it looked like from the Variety article is that that Disney, in order to get 25% of the profits, they were required to put up, according to Variety, roughly a quarter of the costs of making the movie. So the way Variety wrote it, it doesn't sound like a co-financing deal per se. However, and the Hollywood Reporter worded it the same way. However, then Deadline puts out their article, and their article says this. Sony has agreed to terms that Disney originally. Let me try this again. Sony has agreed to the terms that Disney originally proposed for its participation in the third Spider-Man movie, which is not what The Hollywood Reporter or Variety is saying, but whereby Disney/Marvel would co-finance 25% of a third Homecoming movie for a 25% equity stake. So they do use the term co-financing, right? Which Variety did not. The deal also calls for Spider-Man appearing in one more Disney Marvel movie. So this left me, after doing the show yesterday, extremely confused. Because, I've been saying for a long time, Sony, give more money to Disney, that's fine, but you cannot give up co-financing. You can't give that up. So, reading different and conflicting sort of articles and reports, I started writing some emails and saying, hey, what's going on? Like, is this, what's going on? What's right? You know what? Give me a second here. The best thing for me to do, let me just get a screenshot of this. Hold on a second. So I wrote an email. Sorry, I shouldn't be trying to do a graphic while we're doing the show, but I think this is an important issue. Okay, sorry, just getting screenshot. Give me a second here because I can't just show it to you as it is. I got to open up in Photoshop. Give me a second. Anyway, so bottom line, it left me I'm like, what the hell's going on? Did they actually give up co-financing rights? Did they actually do that? Because that is essentially suicide when it comes to Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff. You're giving Disney a greater foot in the door. And hold on a second. I just got to blur some things out here. Give me a moment. And that all you've got, if you're Sony here, all you've got are these precious rights. Sorry, I'm trying to talk and do something at the same time here. Forgive me, guys. That's all you got is those rights. That's it. Without those rights, you have nothing. And you are in total, if you're Sony, you're in total control. You have the rights. You can do whatever you want and or not do whatever you don't want to do. And, okay, hold on a second. So anyway, I sent off, okay, I think that's good enough. Anyway, I sent off an email just asking, what the hell's going on? Like, and I'm not really expecting it. Like, I will often write to the studio when something breaks in one of the studios and it looks a little questionable or a little bit confusing. I'll often write to the studios. Sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't, because I know different people at different studios and stuff like that. Anyway, so I wrote in and I basically asked them this. I said, I was just wondering about the Spider-Man announcement. Did Sony, in fact, do a co-financing deal with Disney? Does this compromise... I'll bring this up. Does this compromise Sony's control over the character? Just curious because this seems like a bit of a reversal in direction. Thanks. And then what I got back earlier this morning was it's not a co-finance deal in the traditional terms. In this case, Sony has not compromised its rights with the Spider-Man or its adjacent characters. Hope all is well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, the initial news broke yesterday. It looked pretty clear that co-financing was off the table, and it looked like Sony and Disney had made a common sense deal. It looked like they made a common sense deal. Then comes out, well, Disney is going to put up some money, but it's not co-financing. Okay, that sounds reasonable, I guess. Okay. Then a different outlet is saying, actually, it is a co-financing deal. And now I am sitting here, regardless of the email that I got, I'm sitting here regardless. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know. Because I'm being told one thing. I'm being told it's not a co-financing deal. I'm seeing some of the major outlets. Saying it's not a co-financing deal, but then I'm seeing another major outlet saying actually it is a co-financing deal. And if it is a co-financing deal, I cannot for the life of me imagine why Sony would agree to it. I can't for the life of me imagine why they would. So I am officially in a position right now where I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm being told it's not a traditional co-financing thing, but it's not like I've ever been told something by a studio that wasn't 100% actual and 100% true, right? I mean, that's what studios do. So I don't know. I will go on record and say this, though. Consistent with what I said before, if Sony actually agreed to a co-finance deal, Black Robin is saying, if Disney is putting up money for a movie, it is a co-financing deal. That's not true. That's actually 100% not true. Many, many, many times in the movie industry, somebody will put in money for something, but it is not necessarily by the traditional terms, a co-financing deal, because co-financing deal equals ownership stake. And so there are many times that different entities can put up money without it actually being a co-financing. But anyway, that's a long thing that we won't get into now. If Sony agreed to a co-finance deal in a traditional sense, where Disney actually gets some ownership stake back in the character of Spider-Man, it will be one of the most idiotic things. I'll go on record and say this. It'll be the most idiotic thing they've ever done since the email leaks. It'll be the stupidest thing they've ever done because they simply did not need to do it. They didn't need to do it. They didn't need to do a deal with Disney. They didn't need to do this sort of thing. So I don't know. Maybe it is some sort of co-financing deal, but they worked language into the contract that protected Sony's rights when it comes to the Spider-Man character. Maybe that's the case. I mean, that's the thing with law, having worked in law. The thing with law is you can write anything you want into a contract, right? You can write anything you want into a contract. Like, they could have written into the contract, on the fourth Saturday of November 2021, Bob Iger has to wear a New York Yankees baseball cap. I mean, you could have put that into the contract. You can put that into the contract. And if Disney doesn't mind, they can sign off on it. And on the fourth Saturday of 2021, Bob Iger will have to wear a New York Yankee cap. So there are so many possibilities here. But I'll tell you what, it makes me raise my eyebrows. It makes me raise my eyebrow and go, what the hell? What the hell? So we'll see. Again, maybe this is exactly what it looks like. Maybe Disney's putting up money, but Sony's protected all their rights regardless, and they're just dealing with it that way. Maybe that's the case. Maybe Sony was monumentally idiotic and stupid and signed away parts of their rights. I can't imagine why they would. But hey, we've seen studio people do dumber things. I'm being told they didn't give any of the rights away. I'm seeing some outlets saying they didn't give any rights away. I'm seeing one outlet saying that maybe they did. So I guess we will just have to wait and see. If I had to make a guess right now, and all it is a guess. If I had to make a guess right now, my guess would be that in whatever way they termed the deal, that within the deal are stipulations that protect Sony's rights to the Spider-Man character, and Disney does not get those rights. That seems to make the most common sense at this point, and if that's the case, that's fine. That works for everybody. But man, if they actually surrendered rights, which I can't imagine them doing, it would be one of the dumbest things ever done. It would be one of the dumbest things ever done. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. All right. It's just important to keep in mind that we are being told one thing. Certain major outlets are reporting one thing, and one or two other outlets are reporting something different. So it's a mixed message right now, but we'll have to wait and see. Darth Wayne also writes, my bad, Variety and Deadline are saying, no, Variety did not say co-financing. Variety said Disney will put up a rough amount of money, but there's a difference between putting up money and entering into a legit co-financing deal. But then again, even if it is a co-financing deal, you can write language in the contract that protects the rights of certain parties. But again, until I see the actual contract, which I never will, but until I see the actual contract, I guess we'll never know. Let's see here. Cameron Ross writes, anybody else wish they made a Rise of the Guardians 2? The first one was highly underrated, and the movie was amazing. Plus, I hear the books continued. The problem is it didn't make a lot of money. And I actually thought it was quite good too, Cameron. I did. I actually thought it was quite good as well. But I mean, when it comes down to who's going to put up the money to make it, unless they feel very confident they will get more back than what they put into it. And I don't know that you can make your argument with that, but I'm on your side, man. I thought it was a pretty good movie, to be honest with you. I never read any of the material or any of the books or anything like that, but I thought the movie was quite good. Patrick Conway writes, Derry Girls is a comedy about a group of Irish Catholic teenagers in the 90s, Northern Ireland, with the dark backdrop of the Troubles. I never knew that, never heard of it before, so that's probably why it went over my head. I've never heard of it before, but thank you for the update on that, Patrick. Tarek Sandu writes, so Richmond trashes Golden State Warriors. GWS for... I have no idea what we're talking about. Sorry, guys, don't use acronyms. I'll miss them most of the time. Isaac Beebe writes, check out the VR game Beat Saber for PC and consoles. It's essentially Star Wars meets Guitar Hero. It sounds weird, I know, but it's so much fun. Actually, I have an Oculus Quest. Ann and I bought an Oculus Quest, and the game we play most on it is Beat Saber. And it is pretty fun. It's pretty damn fun. The other game I like to play a lot on the Oculus Quest is this robot ping pong game. I don't know. I get a kick out of I actually played a lot of ping pong when I was younger. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm actually pretty good at ping pong, but I love it. So I've been playing that a lot too. Here's something interesting. I'm gonna do a video on this in the next couple of days. Lenovo, I should say, the computer company. They just sent me their new augmented reality headset with this new Marvel game where it looks like the Marvel characters are right in your room with you and you're fighting them. And it just arrived. I haven't opened the package. I got to open it, and I'm going to try playing it a little bit this weekend, I think. Now, here's the thing. They just wrote to me and said, can we send this to you? They never asked me to review it. They never asked me to do anything. They just wrote to me, the folks at Lenovo, and said, hey, we wonder if you heard of our new product, this. We just like to send you one. And I was like, sure. So, yeah. What's it called? Marvel. Let me bring this up here. Lenovo Marvel. It's called Dimensions of Heroes, if you guys want to look it up. Marvel Dimensions of Heroes is the name of it. Let me see if I can grab an image of it to bring over here. I'll try. So this is the thing. They just sent it to me. Dimension of Heroes. I have not tried it out yet. I haven't opened the box yet, but I will. And just to be clear, it was sent to me. I did not pay for it. They sent it to me for free, but they did not ask me to review it. They didn't ask me to do anything. They just wrote me and said, can we send this to you? I said, yes, please. And they sent it. That's it. But I'm going to pop it open and give my review of it and give my honest opinion on it. Again, remember, though, when I give my opinion, they did give it to me for free. They didn't ask me to review it, but they did give it to me for free. Keep that in mind. Yeah. But anyway, yes, Beat Saber. I do enjoy Beat Saber a lot, but I played on the Oculus Quest. All right. Josh Sobotka. I'm hoping saying that right, Josh. Sends in a really big super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level, Josh. We really appreciate it around here. Josh writes, hey, John, first time writing to you ever. Oh, thanks so much, man. And been a fan for a long time. Thank you so much. I was one of the cotton candy killers in the Killer Clowns maze last night at Halloween Horror Nights. And when I saw you, I was so starstruck. It was an honor to see you. Oh, that's funny. So, yes, last night, Ann and I went to Halloween Horror. I actually put up a video about it on the YouTube channel. If you want to see it, it's there. It's called John and Ann Do Hollywood Horror Nights in 3 minutes. And it's just a quick 3-minute video walking you through our evening. And we go to Halloween Horror Nights every year. It's a lot of fun. And one of the mazes this year is Killer Clowns. So we went through that last night. It was one of Ann's favorites. And apparently you were one of the clowns. So thanks so much. It was great, by the way. It was great. We had a really good time. And it's different because most of the mazes at Halloween Horror Nights are very dark. They keep them very, very dark with some flashing strobes here and there and blah, blah, blah. And they're great. The clowns one was different. It was very bright. I mean, there was a couple of the rooms that were darker, but for the most part, it was very bright and colorful with the clown colors and everything. It was actually very cool. And the clowns, like, I'm not one of those guys who, I don't have a fear of clowns, but I got a number of my friends who are horribly afraid of clowns. like terrified of clowns. And so I had to make sure I got a lot of footage in there so I could show it to them. But it was great and a lot of fun. And again, highly recommend, guys, if you get a chance to go to Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, do it. We do it every year. Ton of fun. Get out there and check it out. And thanks so much for that, Josh. And listen, we might have some friends coming in from out of town. We might go again. And if you see us going through there again, just lean up to say, John, it's Josh. Just say that so I can at least shake your hand. Let me know that. All right. Thanks a lot for that, dude. And thanks for contributing to us having a really good time last night. All right. Tom Wyenberg writes, just got out of Interstellar in 4DX. I have still never been to a movie in 4DX. Find 4DX a real gimmick and mostly not worth it. But it was awesome seeing the film on the big screen again. See, I've heard moderately mixed things. Like, I've heard from some people, Tom, that are saying, like you, don't really find the 4DX thing all that great. I've talked to some other people. I've had some other people write in and say they really, really love the 4DX. I've never had the opportunity to go to one yet myself. Of course, a lot of that has to do with I've never lived close to a Regal theater, which I believe the 4DX is a Regal. Is 4DX the Regal or the Cinemark thing? I think it's Regal. But it might be, anyway, I've always lived close to AMC's as long as I've lived in LA. I've always lived right beside AMC's, so I've never had a chance, but I might have to check it out sometime and I'll see what you, see if I can see what you're talking about. All right. Tom also follows up and writes, between Her, Interstellar, and now Ad Astra, I love this movie's subdued future world building where the film's vision of what Earth will be like is not nearly as outlandish as in Blade Runner, for example. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the great thing about movies. Is I always talk about how movies are incredible in the way that they let us paint pictures about the way we think the world is, the way the world will be, and the way the world we think it can be. And filmmaking as an art is a great way to really show the diversity of how we all view the future. You know, for some people, the future is everything's the same, just a little different, more stylized. Some people view the future as being completely futuristic with flying cars and skateboards that hover and all this kind of stuff. And it's fascinating to see the different ways different storytellers see the future. But then again, it's done in different ways. Like Interstellar to me was told in such a way that was interesting and riveting and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Ad Astra to me was told in such a way that was snoring and boring and dull and whatever. But you're right, it's different. It's really neat when we get to see that there are movies that look at the future in this fantastical sort of way, and then some that look in the future in a more mundane, and I don't mean mundane as a negative thing here. There's the fantastical way, there's the more mundane or grounded sort of way, and it's really neat that we get to get a lot of diversity with that when it comes to our films. Anyway, good observation, Tom. All right, Frankie Gouge writes, pull from my butt hypothesis. Could just one movie and an appearance in another MCU film is what's left on Tom's contract, and that is the limit? It wouldn't matter. Big studios like Sony and Disney don't care if they have to recast. I mean, they would rather not, but it's not the end of their world that they have to. And, you know, Tom Holland is not nearly as associated with Spider-Man as, say, Chris Evans is with Captain America or Robert Downey Jr. is as Iron Man. And we've had several other Spider-Mans, successful Spider-Mans in the last number of years. So I don't know. I honestly don't think that the limit of one more standalone Spider-Man movie in the MCU with one more movie Spider-Man can appear in that's not a Spider-Man movie, I don't think that has anything to do with the length of Tom Holland's contract. I really don't. This is bigger than Tom Holland. And I know a lot of film fans don't realize that, or a lot of film fans just think everything revolves around the movie stars, the people you see on the screen, and it really doesn't. Some more so than others, for sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Some more so than others. But generally speaking, Spider-Man is much bigger than Tom Holland. Spider-Man is much bigger than Andrew Garfield, and Spider-Man is much bigger than Tobey Maguire. So no, they wouldn't structure their future business around whether or not one actor has their deal going along in that. So I don't see, I mean, it's not impossible, Frankie. It's not impossible, but I don't personally see it being that way, but hey, you never know. All right. Anthony Lukulanu writes, if you're looking for a good documentary on the history of film, Mark Cousins' The Story of Film and Odyssey is well worth checking out. You know what? Let me let me just pull that up on IMDb right now so I can mark it. The story of film, and Odyssey. And it's available on YouTube. It's also available on Apple, on iTunes on Apple. All right, hold on a second. I'm going to bookmark this. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm going to have to check that out and see what that's all about. I've not even heard of that one, to be honest with you. I really haven't, so thank you for pointing it out. All right, or Anthony, I should say. All right, next up. Chris Feldman writes, I'm looking forward to Jay and Silent Bob reboot, but I don't understand its release. Our theater has one show scheduled for October 15th and another for October 17th, and that's it. Kevin Smith is apparently then going on the road, on a road show Q&A with it. Are those two shows previews, or is that the whole theatrical run? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I've not heard of this. I mean, the easiest thing for you to do is just do a quick look up on IMDb. Let me just pull something up here. Jay and Silent Bob reboot IMDb. Okay, so what they're saying right now is that it opens on October 15th. But I mean, that's all it's saying. Yeah, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. Look, it also could be the fact that your theater just doesn't have its schedule up. Like, I know Anne was asking me about this movie. She goes, "Oh my gosh, they're not playing this movie." I'm like, and I looked at it, it's like, well, yeah, but that's like 3.5 weeks out. They may not have fully set what their schedule is, and that may not be available yet. So maybe they know it's opening on the 15th. The real answer here is I don't know. I don't know. But also, that's more than 3 weeks away. So it just could be a case that they don't have their full schedule up. I know that's often the case, even with a huge theater like AMC Burbank 16. If I go up to 3 weeks in advance from now, it might have 1 or 2 movies listed, but I mean, they have 16 theaters, right? So you normally have to get a little bit closer to see what the schedule actually is. So that's what I suspect, Chris. That's what I suspect. But again, I don't know. Maybe it is something special, but I suspect it's just a matter of because you're trying to look at your theater schedule and full booking theatrical schedule over 3 weeks away. That could be problematic. So look into that. Look into that. That's what I'd recommend. Anyway, let's see. Chris also writes, are you familiar with the Tommy Westphal theory that suggests something like 400 plus TV shows can be connected to each other through character/product crossovers with the 1980s TV show St. Elsewhere? Nope, never heard of that theory, but I mean, it's not completely surprising. When you go back and you look at the cast of St. Elsewhere, by the way, Howie Mandel, everybody, good Canadian kid. When you go back and look at the cast of St. Elsewhere, hearing something, I mean, that to me, Chris, just sounds like another variation of the whole 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon theory, right? That's what it kind of sounds like to me. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by that at all when you're considering how many producers, directors, stars, and cast worked on that show. By the way, when I was a kid and first learning how to play piano and keyboards and synthesizers and stuff, one of the very first things one of the very first things I learned how to play was the theme to St. Elsewhere. And yes, I do play piano, just so you know. But that was just one of the things. It was just a fun little connection there, Chris. Just a fun little connection. All right. Steve Joseph writes, was it a mistake that the UFC did not sign Chris Cyborg back? Yes, I think so. But I mean, I say that not knowing all the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, if behind the scenes it was just a dysfunctional relationship between her and the UFC in general, or Dana White in particular, if she was being extremely difficult, if it was impossible to get her. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying, from the outside looking in, yes, to me, it's a mistake not to sign one of the greatest female fighters in the world. That's a mistake, or to re-sign, I should say. But I say that with the asterisk that, I mean, I don't know all the behind-the-scenes drama. I don't know. I'm sure there was enough. in front of the scenes drama that I can only imagine how much behind the scenes drama that they're not talking about. So I don't know. It's hard to say. But as a fan from the outside looking in, being totally oblivious to everything behind the scenes, my first reaction would be, yes, that was a mistake. Steve Joseph writes, were you shocked that Batman vs. Superman did not make $1 billion? Completely shocked. Completely shocked. That movie should have made $1 billion in its sleep. That movie should have made $1 billion in its sleep. Never mind Justice League. Batman versus Superman should have made $1 billion in its sleep. So was I shocked that it did not make $1 billion? You're damn right I was shocked. I was really, really shocked. And I liked Batman versus Superman, but I know a lot of people didn't. That's fine. I personally got a kick out of it. Anyway, Joseph Slade writes, gives his top 10. Number 10. Winter Soldier. Number 9, Nightcrawler. Number 8, Pineapple Express. Number 7, Dark Knight. Number 6, Napoleon Dynamite. That's the first time I've seen that pop up on the list. Number 5, The Nice Guys. Love seeing The Nice Guys up there. Number 4, Prisoners. Great Denis Villeneuve film. Number 3, The Prestige. Number 2, In Bruges. Love In Bruges. Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell. One of Colin Farrell's best performances. Probably his second best performance other than Saving Mr. Banks, in my opinion. Number 1, The Invitation. Also saw Cillian Murphy in A Quiet Place 2. Exciting. I didn't even realize that. Is Cillian Murphy in... is he in Quiet Place 2? I did not know that. And I love Quiet Place. That's exciting to me. Again, nice to see like In Bruges in there. Prisoners. Nice Guys. By the way, I mean, come on. Nice Guys is just the poster child for me. I mean, there's many, many movies. We talked on the John Campea Show the other day of just this year, just in 2019, these incredible, amazing, original films that are bonkers good and nobody goes to see them. So, and that's why I always get frustrated when I see people who like to act like they know something about film going, Hollywood doesn't do anything original anymore. Shut up. Yes, they do. They make tons of original films. As a matter of fact, statistically, they make more original films today than in any other time in Hollywood history. And they make some amazing ones, except you don't go see them. And it's fine if you don't go see them. If they're not your cup of tea, they're not your cup of tea. But don't then sit there and say, Hollywood doesn't make original films anymore. Yes, they do. They make tons of them. Tons of them. But we don't go support most of them. Anyway, one of the big poster children, Joseph, for me, has always been The Nice Guys. A quick, fun, incredibly funny, very sharp, very smart film with a couple of the biggest and best actors in the world in Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. Written and directed by Shane Black, who did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And it's amazing. It's a wonderful film. Nobody went to go see it. Why doesn't Hollywood make original films anymore? They do, and you just don't go. I mean, that's it. They make amazing movies, and you just don't go. But anyway, that's it. Good list, Joseph. I liked it, man. All right. Dom Albrazi writes. Alvarez, I should say, writes. UFC 245, Usman versus Colby, Nunez versus Jermaine, Max versus Alexander. I think... Now, look, like everybody else, I don't like Colby Covington. I don't like him. That's fine. There are a number of fighters I don't like, but I like watching them fight, and I know they're great fighters, blah, blah, blah. That boy is going to go to the hospital after that fight. Usman is going to destroy that kid. Usman is a special fighter. I'll go on record that obviously the number one best pound-for-pound fighter in the world is Khabib. That is the baddest man on the planet. To me, there's no question about that. He is absolutely the baddest man on the planet. I would actually contend that Usman is probably my number 2 pound-for-pound guy in the world. And that means over Stipe. That means over John Jones. That means over... I think he legit is the number 2 guy right behind Khabib. And I think he's going to do a lot of damage to Colby. And as far as Nunez goes, I don't see anybody beating her. I'm not particularly a big fan of Amanda Nunez, the lioness, as they call her. But make no mistake, she's a force of nature of destruction. she just destroys everything in her path. Like, she walked in there in a fight against Chris Cyborg, who a lot of people who thought for the longest time might be the most elite female fighter ever to walk the face of the earth. And Amanda Nunes destroyed her in like a minute. Just knocked the crap out of her and knocked her out in under a minute and just beat her and beat. It was shot. I mean, it's just so. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bored with the notion of an Amanda Nunes fight because I just don't see anybody that can. There's that one Russian girl who's the champion in the weight division below her. That would be an interesting fight. But, I mean, other than that, it's hard to get excited for a Nunes fight because I just expect her to walk in there and destroy what's ever in front of her, which also makes it kind of fun to watch her at the same time. Star Killer writes, just finished Snowfall in 3 days. Love it. Snowfall is a very good show. Speaking of Snowfall, I did a little video on this yesterday. I was out and about when the news broke, so I just pulled out my phone and recorded myself. But they've named the director for the Obi-Wan series. And it's Deborah Chow. And Deborah Chow has an extensive television directing resume, which includes Better Call Saul, Man in the High Castle, American Gods, and Snowfall, by the way. And most notably, she directed 2 episodes of the upcoming Mandalorian series. And they loved her so much, they got her to be the director for that. So there's a little connection between Snowfall and their Star Killer. All right, Donaldo Martinez writes, I never understood the difference in morning and evening theater ticket prices. It's the same experience. Please explain, and good morning. Well, thanks a lot for writing that in, Donaldo. It's basically this. People go to not as many people go to the movies during the daytime and in the mornings as they do in the evening shows. The popular time to go to the movies is in the evening. It's supply and demand. So fewer people go in the mornings. So what do? To try to attract more people to come out to the theaters, you lower the prices. The vast majority of people go to the movies in the evenings, so you got your regular prices. But to attract people to go on the less popular times, you've got to do something as an incentive, right? You have to incentivize them to come out to the theaters during the less popular times. Good way to do that? Matinee ticket pricing. That's the way to do it. Matinee ticket pricing. And so, yes, it's the exact same experience, but people aren't going to go otherwise. So you lower the prices for the matinee, and, you'll get some people go like, well, I wasn't going to go to see that movie, but I can go at, noon. I can go noon on Wednesday. I got, a long lunch Friday, and it's cheaper to go. So yeah, I'll go. So yeah, it's supply and demand. More demand is for the evening tickets, so you stay regular prices. Less demand for the earlier days, so you lower the prices as an incentive to get more people to come out. So there you go. Hope that answers that, Donaldo. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, can't wait to see Spider-Man fight a guy who cut Tony off in traffic one time. I know. Like, so far the pattern is not only is Spider-Man completely Iron Man Jr. in the MCU, but all of his villains that he's got to fight are people who are pissed off at Tony, right? Spider-Man Homecoming, Vulture, guy who was pissed off at Tony Stark. Get it, Spider-Man Far From Home, Jake Gyllenhaal, as a disgruntled former Stark employee pissed off at Tony. So I'm sure whatever the next one will be is probably somebody that cut Tony off or that Tony cut off in traffic once. Here's hoping they break that mold. All right, they'll break that pattern, Ryan. Corey Harper writes, first time watching The Shining. Wish me luck. Good luck. Hey, listen, I'm envious. I always get envious of people who get to do something I can't do anymore, which is watch a classic for the first time. I'll never be able to watch The Shining for the first time again, and you get to, and I'm a little bit envious, my friend. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Amir B writes, oh my God, reviews for The Irishman are fantastic. Can't wait. Like we said, 41 reviews in, all positive, 100% right now. So that's got me excited. I thought the trailers have been iffy, to be honest with you. I have not been thrilled with the trailers, but the trailers and the movie are 2 separate things. So I've been a little bit on the trailers, but now I'm excited. So I'm stoked to see it, Amir. All right, Josh Marion writes, I wish we could get a War for Cybertron movie. Bumblebee teased me of my desire. It wasn't enough. Do we really need humans in a Transformers film? Here's the thing, though, Josh. And there are some concepts that are great as scenes, but not necessarily as movies. Right? There are concepts that are great as scenes, but not necessarily movies. So I hear people, I want to see Justice League versus Avengers. Okay, that's a great scene. That's a great 15 minutes, but the rest of that movie would probably be a profound mess. You can't have an hour and a half of that because it's just, we've seen movies try to just do full 2 hours of nothing but action, 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 action. And action, here's the thing I always say. Action without dramatic purpose is just visual noise. Action without dramatic purpose is just visual noise. We get invested in action when there's dramatic purpose for that action. John Wick's a great example of that. Every scene, every wild thing that happens in John Wick, there's actually a dramatic purpose attached to it. And so we get emotionally invested in it, which heightens it. Take a number of the Transformers movies, like the one that had Grimlock in it, or their version of Grimlock with Optimus Prime riding the Dinobot, right? It was all, why is this happening? Who knows? It's just happening. And it just became, while it was tremendous visual action, it just became visual noise. Action scenes need to be a part of a movie, but they cannot be a movie in and of itself. A battle for Cybertron or a war for Cybertron sounds like a neat idea for a scene, but I don't know if it works as a movie. Now, I say that, but if they made that movie, I'd be there with bells on. So I don't know, but that was a great opening. I was with me and Ann were with our friend Dorina. Some of you probably are familiar with Dorina. So me, Ann, and Dorina and her husband Brennan, who also plays in my Star Wars role-playing game group. We went to go see Bumblebee together at Universal Studios Hollywood, as a matter of fact. We went there to watch Bumblebee. And sitting in that theater, and that Bumblebee movie opens with that battle going on in Cybertron, I was an imbecile. I was like, I'm in there like screaming my head off, like, oh my God, like it's Soundwave. And I'm losing my mind in theaters going crazy. And Anne, Dorina, Brennan, they're just looking at me and laughing at me. And that's fine. I was totally comfortable with that. I didn't mind at all. But I was just losing my damn mind. It was a great scene, dude. It was totally a great scene. And yes, as a matter of fact, we've talked about, you do need humans in Transformers movies because otherwise you don't connect with general audiences. It's the human part of it that connects the general audience. If you just go to just all Transformers, all you've got then is the Transformers cartoon, and that has a more limited audience. Part of the thing that made Bumblebee so great was Haley Steinfeld. I mean, that's part of what made it so great. So you got to have a human anchor in there. You got to have a humanity in there. But you also have to make sure that the star of your movie is the Transformers. And I felt Bumblebee, the star of the movie, was Bumblebee. I really felt like he was the star of the movie. And Haley Steinfeld was a co-lead. She was great. It was fantastic. I love that movie. Travis Knight did such a good job directing that film. Anyway, there's I could gush all day about that Bumblebee movie. I just loved it. All right, Chris Warden writes, my top 10 comic book films in chronological order. Number 1, the 1978 version of Superman. Number 2, the Michael Keaton version of Batman. Number 3, Blade with Wesley Snipes. Number 4, Spider-Man 2, the 2004. Number 5, Avengers. Number 6, The Dark Knight Rises. Really, I'm not a big fan of I like The Dark Knight Rises. I like it. I'm not a huge fan of The Dark Knight Rises. Number 7, Man of Steel. Number 8, X-Men Days of Future Past. Number 9, Civil War. Number 10, Infinity War. That's very creative, Chris, putting it out in chronological order. I dig it. Very well done. But what is really interesting to me is that you've got The Dark Knight Rises, which I'm not a huge fan of. I like it. I like Dark Knight Rises. But to me, it's the weakest of the Batman films. And you don't have what is traditionally thought of by a lot of people as maybe being the best comic book of all time, the comic book movie of all time, The Dark Knight. You don't have that one in there. So I find that interesting. Good on you, man. Good original way to present it as well. I dig that. Well done. All right, Snake Jerusalem writes, I did not enjoy Downton Abbey one bit. Well, clearly, listen, Downton Abbey is not for everybody. It's not even really for me, but I got a kick out of the movie. I enjoyed it for what it was. And oh my God, the audiences lost their minds for that movie. It's crazy, but it's certainly not for everybody. And clearly it was not for you, Snake. I did not enjoy Downton Abbey one bit. I thought Rambo was decent. Actually enjoyed Ad Astra and did not feel bored at all. Film really is subjective. Oh no, it absolutely is. See, that's the beautiful thing about it. Look, the analogy I give all the time stands. you can have a painting hanging on a wall, piece of art on the wall that an artist did. And then you can have 10 people standing around it. And all 10 people can have 10 completely different experiences with the same piece of art. They're all looking at the same thing, but they're all seeing something different. They're experiencing it different. They're noticing different things about it. They have different impressions of it. And that is the subjectivity of film. You know, I watched Ad Astra. I was bored to tears with it. But somebody else can look at the exact same movie and feel like it's deeply profound and have a great experience with it. And that's the beauty of film. See, some people treat the subjectivity of film like it's a problem. It's not a problem. It's the best thing about movies. That even in a movie that is the most decried and hated movie ever, somebody else could look at it and actually get something out of it, and it could speak to them and give them an experience that maybe the rest of the people didn't. You know, and that's a beautiful thing. That's the best thing about movies. And you're absolutely right, Snake. So, but I'm with you on Rambo. I thought Rambo was pretty decent. I mean, it's a guilty pleasure movie in the sense it's a movie of simple pleasures. It's just viscerally kind of satisfying with all the grim violence that Rambo does to the bad guys. And I got a kick out of it. It's not a great movie, but I got a kick out of it. Anyway, Chris Warden writes, my worst 10 comic book films, again, in chronological order. Number 1, Supergirl, 1984. Number 2, Captain America, 1990. Fantastic Four, 1994. Steel. Oh, God, Steel. Batman and Robin. Hulk, 2003. What? You don't like the Hulk dogs? Come on. Number 7, Elektra. Oh, with my girl Jennifer Garner, but bad movie. Number 8, X-Men Origins. I'm assuming you mean Wolverine. Number 9, Jonah Hex. That one was pretty bad. And number 10, Fantastic Four, 2015. You know what? Here's the thing. Fantastic Four, 2015, with Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan. I didn't hate it because while it is not a good movie, the first act was actually pretty solid. I've told this story before, but I remember I was at Fox. I was on the Fox lot, all right, watching a press preview screening of Fantastic Four. And I was with some people, including Christian Harloff was sitting beside me. And we're watching this movie. And we had all heard that it was a disaster. We all had expectations that it was just going to be terrible. All the drama that went on with unfortunately, with Josh Trank getting in an unfortunate situation. And all this stuff. And we were expecting a disaster, right? So we're watching this movie. And about 30 minutes in, like around as the first act was starting to wrap up and we're getting into the second act, Christian and I look at each other and we both go, this isn't all that bad. Like, we weren't saying this is amazing, this is so good. No, we weren't doing that. But we looked at each other like, this isn't terrible. This isn't all that bad, because they do some good stuff in the first act. And the first act's not bad. Second and third act came off the rails, particularly the third act, which is too bad. So to me, the end sum was a not good movie. I thought Fantastic Four was not good, but I honestly didn't think it was like one of the worst comic book movies ever made. I've personally seen a lot worse, but that's just me. But you are not alone in that opinion, Chris. You are not alone in that, my friend. All right. R Squared Games writes, Variety saying the new Spider-Man deal is a 25-75 co-financing. Actually, they did not. What Variety specifically said, and it's important because the terminology here is important. Disney, this is specifically what Variety says. Disney will retain its merchandising rights and will put up roughly a quarter of the financing. Now, putting up money, again, there is a difference between putting up money and becoming, in the strictest meaning of the term, being a co-financing deal. Those are two different things. And I think the wording that Variety used it was pretty distinct. Disney will put up roughly a quarter of the financing as a part of the arrangement. Spider-Man will also appear in one future Marvel studio film. That is a different thing from a co-financing deal. So, again, but Deadline is using that language. Deadline is saying co-financing deal. So that's important to keep in mind. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all kind of shakes up. Slim Trav writes, could Therese temporarily replace Aaron on the John Campea Show? I don't know. I'll see if Therese is available. Wouldn't that be interesting? Me and Tyrese Gibson doing a show together. By the way, look, let me be clear about Tyrese Gibson. I think he has acted like a profound galactic level jackass when it comes to him running his mouth publicly about the Fast and the Furious and the Hobbs and Shaw and the divisions and whatever with Dwayne Johnson. I think he has acted like a profound galactic level jackass. But to be clear, that does not mean, because let's face it, we can all act like a galactic level jackass from time to time, right? That we can all have a situation in our lives that we don't handle right, right? You have, I know I have, we all have. We've all handled we all have situations in our lives that we probably look back on and go, yeah, I could have handled that differently. So while I believe that Tyrese has acted like a galactic level jackass when it comes to this stuff with Fast and the Furious and the drama going on there, that does not mean that I think he himself is a galactic level jackass. Not at all. For all I know, Tyrese is one of the coolest guys in the world. Might be one of the best human beings in the world. I have no opinion, because I don't know him. I have no opinion of Tyrese Gibson in any negative way, what he's like as a dude and as a person and as an overall individual. None at all. For all I know, who knows? Maybe if he and I actually met, maybe he and I would become best of friends. I mean, who knows? That doesn't mean there haven't been times in my life that I haven't handled a situation like a complete, total galactic level jackass. That doesn't mean I don't think he handled his Fast and Furious situation like a complete and total galactic level jackass. But we've all got those things, right? Apart from that, he might be the greatest guy in the world. And I have nothing negative to say about Tyrese Gibson as an individual, because I simply don't know him as an individual. I just don't know him. Maybe he's a jerk. I don't know, but maybe he's the best guy in the world. So I just wanted to be clear about that. Anyway, ZMG Ruler writes, so why can't the DCU do crossovers indefinitely? Why would they? Why would you? I just, that's boring to me. That's infinitely boring to me. Anyway, ZMG Ruler writes, one of the criticisms of them weren't their team ups. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. There were a lot of people that criticized Batman versus Superman. There were a lot of people who criticized Justice League and stuff like that. So I don't know what you're... I don't know where... I think you're probably saying something that I'm not catching here, ZOMG. I'm probably missing something you're saying, but because, yeah, their crossover stuff was criticized, heavily criticized. I mean, I like Batman vs. Superman and I like Justice League, but they have been heavily criticized. All right, Taki75 writes, why was Liv Tyler's Betty Ross so unceremoniously expunged from the MCU? Was there a problem with her personally, like with Ed Norton? No, she wasn't expunged from the MCU. What are you talking about? They just didn't see a need dramatically. Look, the actors are so inconsequential. The important thing is your story. Now, the story is the most important thing. Then you figure what characters serve the story. Then once you get that figured out, then you figure out which actors would then best portray this character for our purposes. What became clear, like it's not like Betty Ross was in the MCU and they just got rid of Liv Tyler and recast her with somebody else. She was never unceremoniously expunged from the MCU. It's just that they didn't have a purpose for the character. That's it. When you look at, the first Mark Ruffalo appearance as Hulk, which was in Avengers, why was there any need for a Betty Ross character there? No. They're not saying she doesn't exist. They didn't say she was murdered in a bank robbery. There was just, look, characters are there to serve the story. And if a character being there doesn't directly serve the story, then don't have the character there. It's that simple. I didn't see it as any sort of unceremoniously expunging them. It's just that there was no purpose for the character to be there. What purpose would a Betty Ross character have served in Avengers or in any of the movies that we've had since? And by the way, that's not to say that there isn't a possibility that they couldn't bring her in later on if they so choose. But not having a purpose for the character at that given moment, like, look, there are several other characters in the Hulk universe. But guess what? You know what? Thunderbolt Ross. There was a dramatic purpose for that character in the MCU. And so when they needed that character, then they brought that character in. If they have a need for the Betty Ross character, but you don't write things, you don't change or compromise your story. I don't think, Tacky. You don't compromise your story just to shoehorn in a character when there's no need for them to be there for this particular story. You know what I mean? So I don't think they did unceremoniously expunge her. It's just that as they move forward, hey, in this particular movie, there's no need for that character, so we don't use that character. It's just that simple. And if they do come up with a story in the future for Hulk that does require the character, then we'll see her back. But I don't think it was anything like that at all. I really don't. By the way, if it was something like a problem with Liv Tyler personally, well, then they just would have done what they did with the Ed Norton character. They just recast him and they put Mark Ruffalo in it. So if it was because of a big problem with Liv Tyler, I've never heard of there being any big problems with Liv Tyler. But if that was it, then they just would have said, okay, bye-bye Liv Tyler, and we're going to recast somebody else. Now, I don't know. Courtney Cox is now Betty Ross. I don't know. I'm just saying. So if the problem was with her, they just would have recast her like they did with Ed Norton. So I think the simplest answer here is probably the most obvious one, which is the Betty Ross character hasn't been required. They haven't needed the character right now. And when they do, they'll bring her back. All right. Ben Rayner writes, after hearing you and Harloff talking about Star Wars on both of your shows, I could only imagine the fun debates you would have with each other, two completely different points of view. Well, I mean, look, there are different points of view. There's Harloff's point of view, and then there's the correct point of view, just so we're clear. And by the way, you don't have to imagine what it would be like. Harloff and I did years of shows together talking about Star Wars. You don't have to imagine it. We have done years of stuff together talking about Star Wars. Again, 2 points of view, Harloff's and the correct one, just so we're understanding each other, just so we're clear. Those are the two options, Harloff's point of view and the correct point of view, just to be clear. And you can tell him I said that. And listen, you know, Christian and I, let's just say we're talking. That's all. I mean, look, it's no big secret. Christian and I hang out. Christian and I talk. It's no big secret. Everybody knows this. You might see us talking about some stuff again. You might. Just saying. And when we do, you know, just remember, there are 2 points of view. There's Harloff's point of view, and there's the correct point of view. Just wanted to make that clear. And you can tell him I said that. All right. Pool of Dead writes, the Variety article says that Disney did put up 25% of the financing. Does Disney only have control of its 50% or more? Am I missing something? Again, I've been told that Sony did, the wording of it was to me that Sony did not compromise any of its rights. How? Like, there's so many question marks right now. By the way, Variety, yeah, they said they put up roughly 25. They will put up roughly 25% of the financing. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a co-financing deal. But Deadline is saying that it is. I'm being told, like, and if it is, traditionally speaking, in a co-financing deal, both parties in a co-financing deal have certain ownership claims and rights claims to the IP in question. But I've been told that Sony did not compromise any of its. I don't know what's true. All I know is that some outlets are saying Disney's just putting up money. Another outlet is saying it's actually a co-financing deal. I'm being told that Sony did not compromise any of its rights. I have no idea. I'm just simply left in a position right now where I have no idea. I mean, I thought I had an idea, and then new information comes up, and then like, okay, does that change things? Maybe now I think this. But then new information comes up, and I'm like, okay, didn't see that coming. All right, maybe that means this. And now I'm in a position where I just have no fucking idea what they're doing. I have no idea. Now, if I had to put $5 on it, and thank God I don't, if I had to put $5 on it, my best guess at this point, my best guess is that they have come to an agreement where within the language of the contract, Disney protects, or Sony, I should say, protects its total rights when it comes to the Spider-Man character moving forward. But I don't know that. again, seeing all this conflicting information and hearing other conflicting information from people involved, I am left that I just don't know. I just don't know. And that's the thing about this business. We always form opinions based on the information we have. Then new information comes out and we have to adjust our point of view. If you had asked me 48 hours ago or a little over 24 hours ago, hey, yeah, with the information we have, Sony didn't cave on any of their rights. They made a good deal. Everything looks good. No co-financing, blah, 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 blah. That was based on the information we had. But then new information comes out. And then other information comes out that conflicts with the other new information. And now all of a sudden we've got conflicting information. I start hearing certain things directly, and I'm just now in a point where, like, I don't know what the F is going on. I just don't. I mean, which is fine. I just really, really hope Sony didn't compromise their rights. That's all I hope. Whether you want to call it putting in for financing, whether you want to call it co-financing, whatever the situation is, I just hope Sony protected their rights and didn't give up their rights, because that would have been a monumentally stupid thing for them to do. Monumentally stupid. Now, I'm being told they didn't compromise their rights, but who knows? I just don't know anymore. I just don't know. Anyway. Jonathan Teft writes, I got to see Star Trek the Motion Picture on the big screen for its 40th anniversary. It's still not one of my favorites, but it was a great experience, and I now have a greater appreciation for it. I get that, yeah. I mean, look, and Robert and I disagree on this, and that's fine. Robert's a bigger Star Trek fan than I am. I like Star Trek very much. Everybody knows this. The original Star Trek Motion Picture is not, I'm with you, Jonathan, and not one of my favorites. Not one of my favorites in the least. But it's good. You know what? I don't even say no. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good. I just don't. But to see it again, understanding the history of it, and to see it on the big screen, maybe it would give you a little bit of a different appreciation for it. And who knows? Maybe if I went and watched it again on the big screen, maybe it would change my opinion of it. But I mean, I've seen it 5 or 6 times in my life, and I think I've seen it enough that I've solidified in my opinion about it. I just don't think it's good. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think the original Star Trek movie is absolute trash. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that. But on the scale of good or not good, I still kind of think it's not good. But it's great that you had the experience to go and see it again, and maybe it would change our perception. Because you know what? I've never seen Star Trek, the original motion picture, on a big screen. I never saw it. I mean, I was clearly just a kid when it came out, so I never did. Every time I've seen it has been on a television screen. Who knows? Maybe if I saw it on the big screen, maybe it changes my opinion of it a little bit. I don't know. Augie Stark writes, was reading the Variety report about Disney and Sony deal. It does state that Disney is paying 25% of the film. Actually, technically, it says that Disney will put up roughly 25%. Actually, no, let me get it specifically what they said here. Disney will put up roughly a quarter of the financing. So it's interesting language for them to use. Does that give Disney some control over the Spider-Man characters? Again, listen, in a traditional co-financing agreement, yes. And that's why I've always said it's important that Sony not allow a true co-financing agreement. And you can put up money for something without entering into a legal co-financing agreement. It happens all the time in the movies. It does. But if you go into a true co-financing deal, that does give you rights. Unless, because you can write anything into a contract, right? Again, like I said, they could write into the contract, we want on the 4th Saturday of 2021 for Bob Iger to wear a New York Yankees cap. You can write that into a contract. And if the other side agrees to it, fine, then there it is. So you can get into a co-financing deal and still put in language in the contract to protect your rights, if that is what they agreed upon. So I don't know. Traditionally, yes. But I'm being told Sony didn't compromise its rights. But do I believe that? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Joseph Formato writes, hey, John, hope you're doing well. I am doing well, thank you. So glad Spidey is back in the MCU. Do you think that things will go south between Disney and Sony again like before? Listen, there are 2 possibilities here. I think that this is it I think there's a reason they didn't just sign a new deal for 5 more Spider-Man films and 6 appearances. 1 Spider-Man film, 1 appearance in a different MCU movie. I think this is it. I think Sony and Disney both know that's it. We're going to, instead of having an abrupt ending like we just did, we're going to ease Spider-Man out of the MCU. We're going to wrap this up, and we're going to do it with 1 standalone Spider-Man movie and 1 appearance of Spider-Man in another film. And that'll be it. That'll be it. So I don't think it's a matter of it going south. I think it's a matter of they are planning this in advance that this will be it and wrapping it up. Now, there is also a possibility, a decent possibility, that what they could be doing here is buying themselves time to come up with a more long-term deal. That's a possibility, but I don't think that's what's going on here. I think what's going on here is that they're just going to use these next 2 films to transition Spider-Man out of the MCU and wrap it up nice. Everybody shakes hands and is friends at the end and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I think. Notwithstanding that, I won't be surprised to find out that they're just using this short deal to buy themselves time to draft a longer term deal. But again, I don't think that's what's happening, but it very well could be. So let's keep our eyes on that. All right. Vince Carter of Mars writes, what did you think of Stan and Ollie? I finally got around to watching it recently and thought it was amazing, especially I was very, very late to Stan and Ollie. I did finally get around to watching it. While particularly the performance of John C. Reilly, and was that Stephen Marchant? Hold on a second. It wasn't Steve Marchant. I'm forgetting the name of the guy. Was Coogan. Hold on a second. Was it Marchant or Coogan? Load. Here it is. It was directed by Baird, and it's Steve Coogan. Okay, Steve Coogan and John C. Reilly. I thought the performances were very, very good. Always love seeing Danny Houston pop up in something too and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't as good overall as I was hoping it would be, to be honest with you. So at the end of it, I was like, okay, no, that was good. Performances were incredible. Movie was good. I don't know that I'll ever watch it again, but anyway, that was my thought on it. Jonathan Teft writes, 1 of 3. Let's see here. I got to see The Shining for the first time, and on the big screen, I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a beautifully crafted movie. It's one of the all-time classics for sure. I probably would have enjoyed it even more if all the iconic imagery and story weren't already spoiled through the references and jokes in other movies. Whenever something scary happened, I wasn't scared. I just thought, oh, so that's where that comes from. But see, that's the interesting thing about horror, right? What was horror decades ago, what on the screen would have gotten a huge reaction from us decades ago is not necessarily what would work to us today, an audience that is both sensitized and desensitized to certain things than we were, say, 3 decades ago or more. So, I don't know. A part of me wonders if I had never seen The Shining, if already knowing all the classic status of Shining would have actually made me appreciate it even more watching it for the first time. Or would you have enjoyed it even more if you didn't know anything about it? I don't know. That's a really good question. But again, it's neat when you're watching a movie, and I bring up The Godfather with this all the time. When you watch a movie for the first time that's got like classic iconic status and you start to see all the things in it, it's like, oh, that's where that comes from. And oh my God, that's where 50 movies copied this movie. And oh my God, that's where that famous saying came from. It is always cool to see it that way. But does that increase or decrease the original experience? I don't know. That's a really interesting thought. Either way, Jonathan, I'm glad you had a chance to check it out. Thrilled that your first experience with it got to be on the big screen, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, my friend. All right. Marie Seifring writes, are you excited to see Renee Zellweger in Judy? I'll tell you what, I wasn't till I saw the trailer. Once I saw the trailer, I'm like, I got to see this. And I believe it's in my local, I believe it's in AMC Burbank 16 this weekend. I don't know how I'm going to have the time because between Dungeons and Dragons and UFCs and going out to see Ann's mom, and then watching the Patriots play football tomorrow, undefeated Patriots against the undefeated Buffalo Bills. I I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to see it, but I do want to see it. And I wasn't really interested when I first heard about it. And then I saw the trailer and I saw the approach they were taking with it. I'm like, yeah. So I'm going to see that one way or the other. I'm going to get out and see it one way or the other. Jonathan Teft writes, oh, sorry, we already did Jonathan there. All right. Joseph Formato writes, also, I saw Rambo the day it came out. I love the franchise. Unfortunately, I fainted due to the human trafficking part of the film. Have you ever fainted from a movie? Ooh. No. But the thing with that part of the movie, I said this in my review, but let me say it again here. The strength of Rambo, the enjoyment of Rambo comes from the simple pleasure of watching Rambo do horrible, inhumane, ungodly things to the bad guys, right? In order for us as the audience to be on board with what Rambo is going to do to these bad guys and not feel empathy for the bad guys, you first need in your movie to set up that these bad guys are inhuman pieces of garbage and they deserve everything that the hero is going to do to them later on. John Wick did the exact same thing. They did it a little differently. They did it with them literally killing a little puppy that we had fallen in love with on the screen. And when they killed that puppy in John Wick, there were nuns in the movie theaters going, that motherfucker's gotta die. And it worked. Because then everything John Wick did after, no matter how over the top it was, everything John Wick did after that to the audience was completely justified. Right? For Rambo to do that amount of inhumane, horrible, unspeakable things to the bad guys, they needed to spend a part of the film convincing us as the audience that these bad guys deserve none of our sympathy and that they deserve to get, I'm not saying they do, but they need to at least emotionally make us feel on an emotional level that these guys deserve everything that they're about to get. And to do that, you have to make them feel very much subhuman. And I believe the stuff they did with the human trafficking did a good job of that. You know, one movie does it with human trafficking. One movie does it with the murder of an innocent little puppy. Either way, you're using your storytelling to set us up so that we as an audience do not feel empathy for the bad guys when our hero starts to unleash holy vengeance on them, right? And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a dog guy. It is tough for me to watch when they kill a puppy. It's tough. I'm not joking around either. I'm not being facetious. It is hard for me to see when they kill a puppy. It really is. That's why you don't see it in movies very often. And that human trafficking part was very tough to watch. It was very tough to watch. But then you get into the third act of the movie and you understand why they did it and why it was needed. And, yeah, man, it was rough. It's definitely rough. But no, I've personally never fainted or passed out in a movie or anything like that, but I can see where it coming from. All right. Jonathan Teft writes, thank you, Fathom Events. I got to see The Shawshank Redemption for the first time. Oh, that was your first time seeing it? For the first time and on the big screen, and oh my God, what an incredible movie. Amazing story of holding on to hope in a hopeless situation. Jonathan, I'm telling you what, I am not convinced that The Shawshank Redemption isn't the greatest motion picture ever made. Now, it's my favorite films of all time, Star Wars, yes. Then probably next, Lord of the Rings. You got to put in, Ben-Hur in there. You got to put Bears on the River Kwai in there. You got to put in Lawrence of Arabia in there. You got to put in The Usual Suspects in there for me. There's a lot of films I have in my top 10, but I am not convinced that Shawshank Redemption, obviously Godfather's got to be in there too. I am not convinced that Shawshank Redemption isn't the greatest film of all time. It's remarkable, and I'm so envious and jealous that you got to see it. And again, movie I've never seen on the big screen. Never seen Shawshank Redemption on the big screen. I believe I haven't. Anyway, that you got to not only see it for the first time, but you got to watch it for the first time on the big screen. Little envious. Not going to lie to you, brother. Little bit envious over that. All right. Daniel McBreen just sends in a really big super chat just to be supportive. Thank you, Daniel, for supporting the channel on that level and for sending that in. I appreciate it. Myself, Ray, Jonathan, Robert, Aaron, Chris, we all thank you for that. Thank you very much, man. That's really nice of you. Jonathan Taft also writes, the Brooks was here scene, one of the most powerful scenes. Subtle in its quietness. Brooks was here. It's still rough to think about. The Brooks was here moment moved me to tears of sadness, and the record playing out over the whole prison moved me to tears of joy. Such an emotionally satisfying movie. I literally, like, one of these days, we're starting up, for those of you who don't know, we're starting up Book Club, the John Campea YouTube channel Book Club. And it's going to be for Patreon members who are on the Discord server. And we had this idea about a year ago, but we never had time to get around to it. We are going to launch it in October, where once a month, I'm going to let you guys know what the movie of the month is. For October, our movie of the month is Gladiator. So everybody's got a few weeks right now who wants to participate in the book club or in the movie club discussion of Gladiator. You got a month to watch it. And then we're going to hop on Discord and we're going to talk. We're just going to talk about Gladiator for a couple hours. We're just going to talk about Gladiator and the movie. And it's going to be a great way for us to dive into even deeper on those things. But I'm thinking, if not the November or December, within the first 3 or 4 movie clubs we do, Shawshank Redemption is going to have to be one of them. Because I could talk about that movie all frickin' day, dude. I could talk about Shawshank all frickin' day. Anyway, and for those of you who are curious and want to join our Discord server, Discord, we did make the decision. We were first only testing it out with our Patreon supporters, but we decided to make our Discord server exclusively for our Patreon supporters. It just makes it a lot easier and a lot more civil. We don't worry about trolls and all that kind of stuff. And it's a great environment in there. I'm having a blast. If you're interested in joining the Discord server for the John Campea Show, go ahead and become a Patreon supporter. So that's there. And just let me know any questions that you have. All right. Kenneth Colton writes, happy Saturday, John. I'm having a good one so far. Gemini Man is at 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. I know it's only 7 reviews. I read them all, and it does seem somewhat surprising. But that is the key thing, right? Let me bring it up here. Gemini Man, Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, the last I checked, it was 7 reviews. Maybe it'll be a little bit more now. Nope, still just 7 reviews. So I'm not... Look, you see that number 29, you're like, well, that doesn't look very good. But then you realize, okay, it's only 7 reviews. I'm not going to get wound up positively or negatively until there's like minimum 30 or 40 reviews. Once there's 30 or 40 reviews, then I'll start to get a little bit invested in what the score is. But when it's just 7 reviews, that's not enough of a sample size. Still not good news. Still not good, but I'm not going to get too worried about it. Just like if it was at 100%, I wouldn't get too excited about it. I'd say, hey, that's a good thing. Being at 100%, even with just 7 reviews, is a good thing, but it's not worth getting too excited about yet till we see 30 or 40. So once we get to 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, then I'll start. But it's not off to a good start. It's not off to a good start, which is surprising. Considering who's directing it, who's starring in it, it's a little bit surprising. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, as we take a big jump, sorry about that. Okay, here we are. We are now at Jonathan Teft writes, Judy has one of the best trailers. It does have really good trailers, as a matter of fact, that I've seen all year. I can't wait to see it. You won't forget me, will you? Promise you won't. I cried after that line. Listen, again, we say this all the time, right? The purpose of a trailer, this is the job of a trailer in its most simple forms. Take your excitement level, doesn't matter if it's really low, doesn't matter if it's really high, for an upcoming movie, and bump up that excitement level a couple of notches. So if I had no interest in your movie, but I saw the trailer, it's like, okay, I'm a little bit interested now. Boom, trailer's done its job. If I'm quite excited for a movie, and then I watch a trailer for it, and I get ludicrously excited for it, boom, the trailer's done its job. Oftentimes we see a trailer and it actually lowers our expectations or does nothing for it. Take the El Camino trailers, for example. I'm excited to see this, but these trailers have done nothing for me, so it hasn't moved it. So to me, the trailers haven't done the job. Judy took me from not being interested at all and taking me right up here. Not like most anticipated movie of the year or anything like that, but quite excited to see it. That's how good of a trailer that is. All right. Daniel McBreen writes, "Hey, John, I just wanted to say thanks, and I'll try and support your channel as much as I can. Dude, just by being here and being part of the community, you're supporting the channel, so don't worry about it. But thank you for putting in a really large super chat and supporting the channel on that level, man. I appreciate that. You really do make life a little easier." Oh, thanks, man. "If you don't mind, can you talk a little bit about your speculation for episode 9? Thanks." Well, I mean, to be honest, I try not to speculate too much. Because here's the danger of speculation, and we've seen this play. I know I've done it, and I see other people do it all the time. People speculate about a movie, then they get invested in what they speculated, and then when the movie doesn't do what they speculated, then they had a bad experience. You know? And I never want to be in that position. I also don't want to, start to ascribe what I think the filmmaker should do. I just want to see what the filmmakers are going to do. I don't want to form opinions about what they should do. I want to just see what they do, So I don't know, but I can tell you this much, because this is what I've said right after seeing The Last Jedi. I believe that ultimately this movie ends, as I've believed for a long time, that this trilogy ends with the final big confrontation between Rey and Kylo. Now, the Emperor being in there, that could throw a wrench in that, but I still believe, until I see more, and I do believe we're going to get another trailer here pretty soon, but I think ultimately this thing ends and climaxes with an epic battle between Rey and Kylo, and Rey killing Kylo. That's my speculation. As far as, though, there's a lot of big floating question marks right now. What is Luke's involvement? Is he a Force ghost? Is he not? I think it's most likely he's a Force ghost, but there's a possibility maybe he's still alive. Who knows? How big of a role do the Knights of Ren play? We already know that the Knights of Ren will be in it. How big of a role will they play? Whose side are they on? Are they with the Emperor? Are they with Kylo? Who are they with at this point? Kylo is the master of the Knights of Ren, but maybe they turned on him. Who knows? So that a lot of dangling questions. But I mean, ultimately, my biggest speculation is that it ends with Kylo and Rey. Maybe it could be the Emperor. Maybe it's the Emperor versus Luke. I don't know. But that's my big speculation. Other than that, a lot of floating question marks. What is Luke's role? What is the Emperor's role? How big of a part and what side are the Knights of Ren on? These are the things that get me. How big of a role is Lando going to have? How big of a role is Billy D. Williams play? Because as of right now, all we've seen him is in one shot, in the cockpit of the Falcon going, yeah! That's it. That's all we've seen in one little shot. Is that the only scene of the movie he's in? How are they going to use Leia? With the unused footage from The Force Awakens, how are they going to use that? A lot of questions, but my only true speculation right now is that it ends with Kylo and Rey. So we'll see how on the mark or way off the mark we are here in just a couple. I mean, we're at the end of September, so October, we're 3 months away. We are actually, as of today, we are less than 3 months away from the release of Star Wars Episode 9, and we will get all those questions answered, my friend. All right. Raymond Verada writes, "More deep cuts to CW Crisis. Ashley Scott as Huntress." That's going back all the way. I was surprised. For those of you who don't know, and you can look up more information on this, there was a show that ran like one season. I don't even know if it ran an entire season. But this older Birds of Prey show from a long time ago, and this actress who played the Huntress on it, Ashley Scott, apparently she has now been added to the CW crossover thing. So it just keeps growing, man. It just keeps growing. Casinema Reviews writes, "1 of 3. If The Last Jedi haters are reasonable, why are most of their criticisms based on oversimplification, bias, and being unable to accept that they misinterpreted? Things in The Force Awakens, anyone who says it abandoned what The Force Awakens set up are the equivalent of a customer who won't accept they misread a sale advertisement. There is no hope for these people. They oversimplify everything, and they are going to do the same with The Rise of Skywalker, no matter how good it is. Sorry, needed event." Well, here's the thing, Cinema Review. You got to keep this in mind. This is important. Now, look, I like The Last Jedi. It is my least favorite of the new era of Star Wars movies, but I still liked it. I have my issues with it, but I still liked it. by saying that their criticisms are only based on oversimplifications, bias, and being unable to accept that they misinterpreted, dude, that's unfair. That's unfair. Because just because to you it's bias doesn't mean it was bias. You know, just because to you it's them doing it on oversimplification, well, maybe that's just you making an excuse for why they don't think the same way you do. Listen, we all do it. I do it, you do it, and maybe this is one of those times. Look, all I can tell you, Cinema, is this. I have some friends of mine who are diehard Star Wars fans, all right, who really did not like The Last Jedi. Now, I've got other Star Wars friends who really did, but I've got some friends of mine who are diehard Star Wars fans, did not like The Last Jedi. They didn't not like it because of oversimplifications or because of bias or for being unable to accept that they misinterpreted something. They didn't like it because they watched the movie and their experience with it was not good. They just watched it and they just didn't like it. And I would encourage you to not fall into the trap of making excuses for why people do. Now, look, are there some people out there who didn't like it for the wrong reasons? Sure, yeah, there are. But just because there are some or a segment of people out there that do that doesn't justify us taking a big paintbrush and saying everybody who doesn't like The Last Jedi doesn't like it for that reason. That's not fair. That's not fair. And it's not fair to my friends. Because I know my friends, and I know my friends really enjoy Star Wars, and I know that they really didn't like The Last Jedi, and I know it's not because that they're biased, I know it's not because they oversimplified things, and I know it's not because they misinterpreted. It's because they experienced the movie and it did not work for them. And that's the subjectivity of film. That's what it is. We just have to accept that there are going to be people who like movies that we don't like, and there are going to be people who dislike movies that we do like, and it's going to be because the movie just hit them in that way. Not because they made the mistake of misinterpreting or they made the mistake of being biased. No, because they watched it and it did not work for them. And it may be things that did work for us, and that's okay. And again, I'm not denying that there isn't a segment of people out there who didn't like The Last Jedi for all the worst reasons in the world, some very dark, dark reasons. Sure, those exist. Yes, that's clear. They do. But that doesn't mean that's the majority of them. That doesn't mean that's every one of them. That doesn't mean everybody who really didn't like The Last Jedi is because of some dark reason. No, they just watched it and it did not work for them. And that's fair. But it is unfair for us to try to paint a brush and to categorize anybody who didn't like this movie that we liked, any of them didn't like it because of these reasons. Maybe to you, what they say, hey, this didn't work for me because of this. Maybe to you that sounds like an oversimplification, but for them it's not. Maybe if a friend of yours says to you, I didn't like The Last Jedi because of this, maybe to you that's them misinterpreting something, but to them it's not. And, look, because they could turn around and say the exact same thing to you. Oh, you're only saying you liked it because your only reasons for liking it are either oversimplifications, bias, or you're misinterpreting something. Right? And that wouldn't be fair for them to do, just like it's not fair for us to do that. Again, not saying that there aren't darker reasons that some segment of them are. That's clear and obvious there are, but they're not the majority. And we shouldn't paint them all with the same brush. So I just think that's important. I just think that's important, Cinema. And you and me, like we're film fan brothers. I'm just saying though, I want to encourage you to not paint anybody who doesn't see the movies the same way we do with a broad brush like that. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. All right. Let's see. I'm just going to take a couple more here, guys. And then we're going to take a quick break to rest my voice, refill my drink, and stretch my legs a little bit. The Darman writes, is the fact that Disney will pay for 25% of the next Spider-Man movie any kind of co-financing? It is on the Variety article, says they will pay 25%. Actually, technically speaking, it doesn't say they will pay 25%. It says some mysterious sort of will put up roughly a quarter of the financing. What that means, I don't know. And then again, Darman, up to now, we've already answered that question several times today. It's a who knows situation. Some are reporting that it's just putting up money. Some are reporting it's actually a co-finance deal. Then I'm being told that it's not a traditional co-finance deal and that Sony has protected all of its rights. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to believe at this point. Anthony Cullen writes, The Rock and Vin Diesel apparently buried the hatchet. That would be good. That would be good because they're two of my favorite guys. Vin Diesel and Dwayne The Rock Johnson are two of my favorite guys. I don't like it when mommy and daddy fight. I love both those guys. I think they're both fantastic, and I really hope they did. Again, I don't know. First of all, they never should have aired their dirty laundry. Look, I love Vin Diesel and I love The Rock. They never should have aired their dirty laundry. Now, granted, they both handled it pretty subtly, but they never should have aired it in the first place. It never should have been public, ever. But if it's out there, then you got to bury the hatchet publicly. So maybe they have. All right. And we already got Cinema Review. Epic Dub Time writes, I got my Joker tickets 70 millimeter, only 5 days left. I'm so stoked. Because yeah, it's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 days. Me, Aaron, Chris, Ann, Robert, we're all going to go watch it. We got our tickets for Thursday. Very, very excited. Cannot wait. Patrick Conway writes, better Thanos one-on-one, Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch. I'd say Thanos. Sorry. I'd say Doctor Strange. Just because there was more exchanges. It was maybe the roughly same amount of time, but there were more exchanges happening there. So yeah, I'm going to go that way. Yes. I'm going to say Doctor Strange, although the Scarlet Witch one is magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Father of Legend writes, have you seen Brandon Routh's new Superman image? I have not. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let me see if there's anything in here. There it is. It actually came out yesterday. The first look of Brandon Routh in his new Superman digs. And yeah, it's kind of got the, he's looking a little bit older. It's got the, why am I freezing on the name of the classic comic book story that I know perfectly well? It's got the S from Kingdom Come on there. He's looking a bit older. Looking good, Brandon. I always like Brandon Routh's Superman, unapologetically. I don't apologize for that. I like Brandon Routh's Superman. Now, the movie wasn't great. I thought it was, this is what I always said about Brandon Routh's Superman. I thought it was a good movie that was not a good comic book movie. You know what I mean? So that's how I kind of see that. Oh, that's pretty cool. I like the S. Let's see. Cinema Review. Sorry again. The Last Jedi haters have just been getting on me. Can't even enjoy the Rise of Skywalker trailers. And don't even get me started on the anti-Rylos and their BS. Well, I mean, look, I will say one of the things that bugs me is this. Look, hate gets clicks. Now, look, I hated, what's a movie I hate? Assassin's Creed. I hated that movie. And I did my review. I said I didn't like it. And when Assassin's Creed comes up, I will express that I didn't like the movie, right? What I don't do is make 5 videos a month about why Assassin's Creed and everybody associated with it sucks. That's weak. To me, at any rate. I don't like the prequels. And when it comes up, I will mention I don't like the prequels. What I won't do is make 5 to 7 videos every month about why the prequels and everybody associated with them sucks. You know, I'll do my review of the movie, and when the movie comes up in conversation, I will mention my thoughts on it. But I'm not going to make 8 videos a month about why that movie sucks and why everything about this movie sucks and why. To me, that's just whatever. That's just whatever. But there are a lot of channels that do that, and and you know, I get it. You make YouTube channels to get clicks. And if you find that making certain types of content gets you clicks, then there's an allure to do that. I get it. I do. Look, a lot of people do trailer reaction videos. I mean, I know, dudes, I've had so many people from YouTube reps and other content creators, and like I said, reps from YouTube themselves, tell me straight up, you really got to do trailer reactions, John. You would get a lot of clicks if you do trailer reactions. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And I don't mind that everybody else does trailer reactions. I don't mind that at all. But it's just not me. You know, it's just not me. I've done some trailer reactions and they've gotten a good amount of clicks, but it's not mine. I feel like I'm faking it. I feel like I'm thinking, going, whoa, when something happens in a trailer. I mean, I just feel like I'm faking it. I'm not saying other people do. I'm just saying that's how I feel when I do it. So it's whatever. So I don't do it. I know I could get a lot of easy clicks. I know I could do that and it would be great. Hate gets a lot of clicks because hate elicits impassioned emotions, right? And we act on impassioned emotions. It's just good psychology. We do. So, I mean, I could find on something that I really hate and then make 8 videos a month about it, about why I hate that thing. And they'd probably all get clicks. I could do that, but that's not me. I don't want to be, look, whenever I do like a Comic-Con or do panels on people creating YouTube channels, whatever, one of the things I always try to implore to people and if you've been to one of these panels, you've heard me say this. I ask people who are potential content creators, don't be known by what you hate. Be known by what you love. That's all. Be identified by what you love. Don't become identified by what you hate. Because there's a lot of outlets out there that, oh yeah, that outlet, that's the outlet that hates this. That outlet, oh yeah, they hate that and that. And they become known by what they hate. And to each their own, And there is a lot of them out there because the hate is like dark side, right? It's easier. It's more alluring. There's more immediate reward for doing a lot of hate stuff because hate gets clicks. Hate clicks are good. Whether you hate the new Doctor Who, and I've never seen Doctor Who, so I don't care. But, you know, I've seen a lot of channels there's based on why the new Doctor Who sucks. And that's all their channel is about. You look at their channel and it's just every video is about, or at least every other video is about why this sucks about the new Doctor Who and why this sucks about Doctor Who and why this sucks about Doctor Who and blah, 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 and on and on and on, right? I've never seen Doctor Who, so the new one, so I have no idea. But, you know, what I always try to implore to people who are becoming content creators is, do your content in such a way that you become known as, oh, you're the girl that loves this stuff, or you're the guy that loves this. Don't be known as the guy or the girl that hates this, that, or the other thing. And, you know, I remember Chris Gore, who's a friend of mine. Chris Gore, when we were getting ready for Comic-Con this year, he got a hold of me and said, hey, you know, because I sent an email out to the people I had who were going to be on my panel. And I said, hey, I think we got room for another 1 or 2 people if we wanted to add another 1 or 2 people. Do you guys have any recommendations for who might be good for something like this? And Chris sent me the name of this one YouTuber, and I'm not going to say who it was. Said, hey, you know, I've met this person. They're growing, and maybe they'll be good for the panel. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I went and checked out the person's YouTube channel. And I kid you not, there's no hyperbole here, no exaggeration. When I went to the front page of this person's YouTube channel, where, you know, they got all the playlists and all that kind of stuff, and I looked through about 20 or 30 videos that were there on the front page, every single video was about him hating one of 4 things. There were 4 basic topics that were covered in every single one of the 20 or 30 videos. Like this movie, this show, this movie, this show, right? And like every single video on the front page was why this show sucks. And then the next video, why that movie, again, it's always one of the same 4, why that movie's director is a terrible person. And then why that show's, you know, producers are secretly communist, and then why that movie, like every single video was about why they hate something. Every single video was about why they hate something. And listen, it's cool if once in a while, like a topic comes up, I got strong passions about it, I'm going to make a video about that. But then they like 8 or 9 or 10 or 20 or 30 in this case videos about, and every single one was about 2 movies in particular and 2 TV shows in particular and how everything about them sucked and was all hate. And I'm like, I get it. Hate gets clicks. But what I have also found, and I'm not the world's foremost expert on this, so let's be clear. What I have also found is that doing this for over a decade, being in this space, not exactly on YouTube for 17 years, but I've been doing this for over 16 years now. It's been 16 years since I started the movie blog. What I have noticed is that over long periods of time, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, one of the reasons I tell people to don't be known by what you hate, rather be known by what you love. Let your content identify you as somebody who loves these things, not identify you as somebody who hates these other things. Not that you're not going to hate some things. I hate some things, but don't be known by that. Don't let your content be known by that. Is because what I have recognized is as you go over the long term, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years, I have honestly found the outlets, be they blogs, podcasts, YouTube channels, whatever, that get all of their success from hate content, while it is easier to get and you get a lot of it initially, that long term, they don't last. They don't last long term because somebody else is going to come out that hates things more loudly than you do. And you're going to become, if that's what you're based on, you're going to lose that. And so, I always, like I've told like Robert and everybody else too, I've always says, always look at my YouTube page, look at my YouTube front page and tell me if it's overrun with things I hate or if it looks like it's more identified by things I love. And that's the key. But again, it's up to the individual to do what they want to do and to make the channels they want to make. And ultimately, we're just here to talk about the things we want to talk about. So I don't begrudge anybody who wants to do the type of content they want to do. That's fine. I have just found that it's not constructive. And I found that long term, it doesn't carry a ton of success long term. It just in the long term. And some people are very finite thinking and they think long term means a year or they think long term means 2 or 3 years. It doesn't. I've just found that long term, it doesn't have sustained success. It comes and then it goes. And if you want to have more sustained success, become more known by what it is you love. Anyway, that's just my thought. And yes, right now we're in a season where there's a lot of loud, vocal, vitriol, anti-Star Wars and anti-Last Jedi hate. There's a lot of it right now. It's a popular thing to hate right now. And it can be frustrating, but there's always going to be stuff like that. So who knows? All right. Mr. J writes, let's see. Where did it go? There he is. Mr. J writes, hey, John, is it one Spider-Man movie with MCU characters in it, or is it one MCU movie with Spider-Man? Are Spider-Man movies considered MCU movies or Sony's? Technically speaking, Spider-Man movies are Sony's movies. Those belong to Sony when they come out with the Spider-Man label on it. So any movie with the title Spider-Man in it, that belongs to Sony. Marvel may be the guys that make it with Sony, but they're Sony movies. But then like Civil War, Spider-Man pops up, but those are Marvel's movies, right? So from what we understand, they're going to do a Spider-Man movie and maybe an MCU character will pop up in it or maybe not, but it'll be a Spider-Man movie that belongs to Sony. And then Spider-Man will appear in a Marvel movie that belongs to Marvel. So that's my understanding of it at any rate. All right. Jared Smith writes, and this will be the last question I take, guys, and then I'm going to take a short, just a couple of minute break, stretch the legs, refill my drink. My throat's getting a little bit sore. Jared Smith writes, you may be seated. Peter Parker sits down and you hear the tap, tap, tap of a cane. I'm sorry, I'm late, Your Honor. And Charlie Cox sits down next to Peter. I'll pass out from joy. It's not going to happen. Just so you know, just prepare yourself. That's not going to happen. Now, that's not to say that we don't see Matt Murdock come in and sit down, or as some people are speculating, maybe She-Hulk. But then again, look, there's a lot of people just assuming that the next Spider-Man movie will be a court and trial. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Spider-Man ever gets caught. But who knows? Maybe he does. Maybe he needs a lawyer. And maybe that lawyer will be She-Hulk. Maybe that lawyer will be Daredevil. But it's not going to be Charlie Cox. That much we know. So while there's a cool fan sort of thing about that, it's not going to be Charlie Cox. So just get yourself prepared for that. It could be Matt Murdock, but it'll be a different actor because that Daredevil is gone. That Daredevil can't be used. That iteration of Daredevil, you're going to get into some legal issues with Netflix if they did. So that's gone. And so they got to wait a couple of years and they can bring in Matt Murdock, but it's going to be a different actor. But can you imagine how excited everybody would be if it was? I mean, this is a strange business, so I'm never going to say never. But just prep yourself. Don't get your hopes up too high because it's most likely not going to be Charlie Cox. They can't do it. But stranger things have happened. Happens every day. All right. Yes, I am going to take a break now, guys. So give me about 5 minutes here. I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then we will be back and carry on with the rest of the questions. We'll get started off with Eddie, Michael, Zach, everybody else all the way down. So hang tight, guys. I'll be back in about, roughly about 5 minutes. I'll see you shortly. are back. Thank you guys for your patience as I took a little bit of a break there and got my stuff together. And I keep forgetting to plug this in. Excuse me. Okay. Sorry about that. Got to keep turning off. Anyway, guys, we are now back. So let's keep things rolling here with getting to the next live question. The next live question today comes to us from Eddie Burton, who writes, why does an actor like Matthew McConaughey or Pitt doing a string of bad films have a deeper impact on their career than veterans like Pacino or Hopkins? Let me try this again. Why does an actor like McConaughey or Pitt doing a string of bad films have a deeper impact on their careers than veterans like Pacino or Hopkins? First of all, doing a string of bad films, it does hurt. How many great roles has Robert De Niro had in the past 15 years? Not a lot. Not a lot. So it does have an impact. How big of a box office draw has Robert De Niro been in the past 15 years? Not a lot. He's done a string of bad stuff. Pacino went through the same sort of thing too. And I think that can then be said of any actor. When you become accustomed to seeing a movie with an actor and then not liking that movie, that can have a long-term impact, or at least an immediate term impact. But I would suggest to you that Pacino and Hopkins have not gone unscathed. They haven't gone unscathed. What's the last big movie that Anthony Hopkins has been the lead in? That one where he was the priest? That exorcism movie that came out like 6 or 7 years ago where he was the big priest. I mean, I wouldn't pretend, Eddie, like it's not like it hasn't impacted those guys. It has too. Now their reputations stay in check. And I would argue that at the end of the day, Brad Pitt and Matthew McConaughey's legacies are pretty much already set in stone, especially with McConaughey having an Oscar. But it affects everybody. It affects everybody when you put on a long string of failures. It really does. And then a lot of times audiences are astute enough to know sometimes when a movie's bad, but the actor wasn't part of the problem. So audiences do understand that as well. But when you get used to seeing an actor in a bad movie, it can have an impact. All right, Michael Rios writes, came across an old interview you did when you were at AMC with the director and Ike Barinholtz of Neighbors. And oh my God, it was hilarious. It made my day. I really liked that interview. That was a lot of fun. And Ike Barinholtz is a funny dude. And actually, he almost single-handedly, and that was a fun interview, he almost single-handedly made Blockers watchable. I'm pretty sure that was him in Blockers. Let me now double check, but I'm pretty sure that was him in Blockers, with John Cena and Leslie Mann. It was Ike Barinholtz. Yeah, he was really, really good in that. I like him a lot. I like it when he pops up in movies. I think he's a funny guy, and that was a very fun interview. I'm glad you dug that up, Michael. Thanks for mentioning it. All right. Zach Bartran writes, the new physical release of the entire Star Wars saga is out now, and none of them has bonus feature disc. They're all digitally exclusive now. Really? That's funny, because generally speaking, the discussions have been with digital releases, there's not bonus features. But here we have Star Wars where now the bonus features are only on digital features and not in the... I'm sure I don't know this for sure, Zach, but I feel like there must be a version of the physical release that has the bonus features. You'd think? If not, that's fascinating. That's a very fascinating thing. Thanks for bringing that up, Zach. That's weird, because that's kind of the opposite of what we thought, but maybe now more and more of an indicator of the direction everything's going. So it sounds like even the studios are trying to get people more towards digital and wean them off of physical, because it is inevitable. The physical stuff is going to die. It is all going to go digital. And maybe that's just another sign of the studios trying to wean us off of it. All right. Darth Sidious writes, hey, John, while we don't agree about the Star Wars prequels, we do agree on the fact that we both like Snyder's vision for the DCEU. Let me be clear, though. I am a Zack Snyder fan. I will always be grateful to him for Man of Steel, probably the most underrated comic book film of all time, 300. I like what he did with the Owls of Gaul. I think he's a great visual storyteller and all that kind of stuff. I also am one of those people, though, that thought they should not have let him even begun Justice League. Look, as much as I love Man of Steel, and I think it's a horribly underrated film, the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people who didn't like it. Then he made Batman versus Superman, which I liked, but the fact of the matter is a lot of people didn't like it. And I thought with that, it became clear they should have never moved forward with him doing, and there was a lot of people at Warner Brothers that did not want to let him start Justice League, and they did, and then it wasn't going the way they wanted it to go, and all that kind of stuff. And it is what it is. So I am a Zack Snyder supporter in that I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he does next. I'm glad he's able to restart his career and get going on new things and new projects, and I'm looking forward to seeing them, all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to misinterpret that as if me saying that I'm one of the guys who I think they should have kept him on DC. I don't. It became clear it wasn't working. Whether I liked it or not is irrelevant. The fact is it wasn't working. And, you know, you're not going to get all your success on whether John Campea likes it. I liked it, but that wasn't translating into success. And so while I do like his tone and I liked his movies, I was still somebody who went, even though I like him, they need to move on from him in the DCU, and he needs to move on from the DCU to go and do other creative things so he can get his creative fix going. So I don't know. It's interesting though. It's interesting. All right. Epic Dub Time 23 writes, have you seen The Fanatic with John Travolta? I have not. Wait a minute. Unless that's also the one. No, that can't be the one I'm thinking of. I think there are multiple movies called The Fanatic. I think there are multiple movies called The Fanatic. Oh, no. I'm thinking of The Fan with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes. That's what I was thinking of, The Fan, which is different than Fanatic. But no, I do not believe I've seen The Fanatic with John Travolta, although I do believe that is one of his 5 films in a row that had 0% of Rotten Tomatoes. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that is one of those films. Let's see here. Brett Laufer writes, thank you for the show today. My best friend took his own life on Wednesday. So your show has really been helping. I really appreciate everything you do. Thanks for sharing that, Brett. And you know what? I have had, first of all, losing somebody you know is awful in and of itself. Like, it just, whether they died of cancer like my friend did, or died in a car accident or whatever, there's an extra layer of trauma that comes when it's somebody that takes their own life. There's an extra layer of confusion and questioning and just turmoil when that happens. Now, I've never had a best friend do that, but I've had 2 people I've known in my life. One was one of our college friends when we were in college, took their own life. And then I just found out recently that a friend of mine from back home, recently, it's got to be getting close to maybe 7 or 8 months ago, that somebody I had known took their own life as well. And there's just an added sort of, like, I'm no expert on this at all. I'm just telling you my own emotions and feelings and what I had to process. It just adds a new level of what the hell, because, you know, when somebody dies of cancer, somebody dies in a car accident, you're not left behind wondering, what could I have done to prevent that? But when it's somebody you know who takes their own life, then you're also added on, there's guilt that comes along with that. It's like, why did I not see this coming? Why wasn't I a better support to that person to make, I don't know. It just adds that extra stuff. So, dude, my deepest condolences for you and everybody else who was affected by that. And I'm just, as always, really grateful that movies, the art of filmmaking, and the film fan community can be here to give you a bit of a reprieve, to give you just a moment to just celebrate other things and then go back to dealing with that other stuff. So I'm glad we're here for that. And thanks for sharing that, dude. And again, my deepest condolences to you and to everybody involved. That's a horrible situation, dude. All right. Aaron Stanwood writes, hey, Gio, I love Mr. Holland's Opus. Great film. It's funny because Anna and I were just watching Jaws again. So seeing Richard Dreyfuss in there. Anyway, great movie. I love Mr. Holland's Opus. It doesn't get enough love. The relationships feel so great. Great writing and performances, thoughts. I love it. I love Mr. Holland's Opus. I mean, now, granted, it's not in my top 10, maybe not even in my top 20, but it is a wonderful film. And because it's not superheroes and actions and explosions, a lot of the movie audience today hasn't gone. What year did that come out, by the way? Hold on a second. Mr. Holland's Opus. That was 95. So that's like 24 years ago that movie came out. Dear heavens, has it really been that long? Yes, it has. Richard Dreyfuss, the late, great Glenn Headley, Jay Thomas, Olympia Dukakis, William H. Macy, Terrence Howard. I forgot Terrence Howard was in that. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, wonderful film. I agree. Does not get enough love. Totally doesn't get enough love. All right, Double Crit writes, Regal Unlimited would be so worth it for me, except that you have to commit for a year, and plenty of months will have nothing worth seeing. F that S. Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. I get it, because, I don't know if AMC does it anymore, but when I first signed up for AMC A-List, I think there was an initial 3-month commitment you had to make. And then after that, it's just month to month. I get that, because they are offering such an incredible deal. They are offering such a remarkably incredible deal that they need a certain term of commitment, because if they don't, then a bunch of people are just going to sign up for 1 month, take them for a bunch of money, and then unsign, right? Signing up for a year, it just makes it feasible. But I would argue this, Double Crit, that if you add up, now I don't care. I don't get 10 cents if Regal sells another membership. I don't care. But I would argue this. If you were to add up a year's worth of membership fees for Regal Unlimited, if you live near a Regal, all right? So I can't remember what the exact number is, but for argument's sake, let's say $20, right? So it's roughly $240. Let's, for argument's sake, say $250. All right. $250. Now, where I live, the minimum I'm paying for a movie ticket, minimum I'm paying for a movie ticket is $15. Most of the movies I want to see are in the Prime or in something like that, and I got to pay like 20 plus bucks for a ticket. So the question becomes, even if there are certain months where there's not much I want to see, am I overall going to see 15 movies this year? Am I going to go see 15 movies this year? Because if you're going to see 15 movies or more this year, which I would argue, if you're watching a show like the John Campea Show, you're probably seeing double that. You're probably seeing 30, 40, 50 movies a year, even if there are a couple of months where you really don't go that often. Then by the end of the day, you are still saving hundreds of dollars by having that membership, even if there are a couple of months that you don't use it, right? Even if there are a couple of months you don't use it, you are probably still going to, by the end of the day, save hundreds of dollars. Hundreds of dollars. Now, if you're like me and you ain't rich, saving hundreds of dollars is a pretty good deal. So I would recommend Double Crit unless you really are somebody who, you know what, no, I'll probably only go to about a dozen movies this year. At most, I'll probably go to 12 movies this year. If that is you, then yeah, maybe getting the Regal Unlimited deal isn't a great idea. But if you, as I suspect, are somebody that's going to see 20 movies this year, 30 movies this year, 40 movies this year, then yeah, man, still get it. Even if there are some months you don't go, you are still getting excellent value for your money. You're still getting excellent value for your money. So that would be my recommendation at any rate. And remember, I've got no love for Regal. I don't hate Regal, but I have no love for Regal. I don't care. But I just think for you as a film fan, I think you'd be doing yourself a favor by doing that. Anyway, let's move on. Where are we at? Suthius writes, hey, Mr. C, another trope that annoys me. Character H realizes character C is up to no good. H then goes around the corner or out the door to call authorities, only for C to kill them. Go a little further. Yep, that happens all the time too. Like my biggest pet peeve in movies that has happened 1,000 times in movies and TV shows is, of course, meet me at Death Peak, right? Not over the phone. It's like the hero gets a call. I have valuable information. Really? What is it? Not over the phone. Why not? Why not over the phone? Anyway, not over the phone. Meet me at Death Peak at midnight. Well, obviously now you know that guy's going to die before the hero shows up to meet him, right? So another thing, somebody realizes that someone's the bad guy and then they die by that bad guy. I mean, it happens all the time, Soothies. You're right. I've seen it a million times, dude. J Meister 25 writes, another top 10. Here we go. 10, Pulp Fiction. Number 9, Citizen Kane. Number 8, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the original. Number 7, Beauty and the Beast. I'm assuming the original animated. Number 6, Shawshank Redemption. Number 5, Return of the King. Number 4, Fight Club. Number 3, Star Wars. Number 2, Fellowship of the Ring. And number 1, The Empire Strikes Back. A little hurt you don't have Return of the Jedi on there, but that's perfectly. Return of the Jedi is actually my favorite Star Wars movie. It is. I think it's the greatest. I mean, look, the original Star Wars trilogy to me is 1A, and 1B. I mean, they're all amazing, right? But I personally, Return of the Jedi is my favorite. But anyway, I love all three of those. Well, of course, when I make my top 10, J Meister, I just say, I take up one spot and say the Star Wars trilogy. The original Star Wars trilogy, one spot, and the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, another spot. That's how I break it up. But other than that, nice mix. You got some older, you got some newer, you got some big ones, you got some, look, very nice list, J Meister. I like it. All right, let's see. Eternitine Forever writes, in Saint Elsewhere, all TV realities are in a child's mind. I don't know what that means. Was that a literal thing about the show? I mean, I didn't watch the show religiously, so I mean, I don't know what we're talking about. Anyway, Jersey Kid writes, Do you remember Killer Clowns from Outer Space? Scared me as a kid and fear of clowns began. LOL, there was a movie that scarred you as a kid. Oh, the movie that scarred me as a kid was American Werewolf in London. I mean, that to this day, American Werewolf in London, I saw that as, I should not have seen that as a kid, but I saw that as a kid, scared the living hell out of me. And to this day is a movie I cannot watch alone in the dark at night. To this day, I can't do it. No movie scares me. By the way, Frank Oz was part of that movie. Anyway, no movies scare me. I find some horror movies really cool and really great, and I love them, and they're excellent, and they can shock me, like get jump scares and stuff like that. But I never feel scared in a movie, really. American Werewolf in London, to this day, that movie scares the hell out of me. And it's funny you mentioned the Killer Clowns, because it was just at Universal, and we got to see the Killer Clowns, which is kind of great. Let's see. The Friendly Film Fan writes, Top 10 animated. Number 10, Toy Story 3. Number 9, Lego Batman. Such an underrated movie. I love Lego Batman. Number 8, How to Train Your Dragon 2. Number 7, Frozen. Number 6, Lion King 94. That's my number 1. Number 5, The Lego Movie. Number 4, Finding Nemo. Number 3, Inside Out. Number 2, Spider-Verse. And number 1, How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon. All 3 of the How to Train Your Dragon films are wonderful. Like, absolutely wonderful. Like, I thought How to Train Your Dragon 3 was probably the least wonderful of all the How to Train Your Dragon movies, but still wonderful. It's a great series. And I remember being really surprised by that first How to Train Your Dragon movie, because I didn't think it looked all that great. Let's see, none of us thought it looked all that great. And then I saw it and I'm like, holy crap, this is character driven and it's got real emotion and real heart, and it's fun and funny and exciting at the same time. And the cinematography, I always feel weird talking about cinematography in animated films, but still, the cinematography of it is gorgeous and beautiful and breathtaking. It's a wonderful movie, man. Wonderful, wonderful movie. I love those films. I'm really sad that they're done. I mean, they ran their course, but still, it's kind of sad to see them go. All right. Joseph Slade writes, have you seen the unreleased Tenet teaser trailer? I did. If you're talking about the one that they played in theaters and played in theaters only, I saw that in front of The Farewell. I went to go see The Farewell at the Alamo Drafthouse in Los Angeles, and I believe it was at that movie that they played the Tenet trailer. It was the first time I saw it. I'm not all that impressed by it. I'm not impressed by it. I have zero doubt that the movie's going to be awesome. I have zero doubt the movie will be awesome. But I wasn't impressed with the trailer. I mean, it was just a little, it was a face. Nothing to it. The Friendly Film Fan writes, I know Spider-Verse wins for you. No, the best animated film of all time for me is Lion King. But anyway, I know Spider-Verse wins for you, but for me, there's just something about the majesty and grandiosity of the How to Train Your Dragon that can't be surpassed. It's a wonderful film series. It's absolutely, and yes, I do have other films in front of it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they're beautiful. They're character driven, which a lot of animated films fail to be. Not a lot of films outside of Pixar remember to make their animated films truly character-driven, and How to Train Your Dragon does. And it's a beautiful testimony to that. It really, really is. Let's see. Enod Sitterin writes, "Hey, John, big fan. Thank you so much. Today is my birthday. Happy birthday. May you have a fabulous day and a fabulous year ahead of you here. Gonna go see the new Rambo movie and or Joker, but got sick and I gotta wait. Do you think Stallone will end the Rambo franchise?" Yeah, I do. I'm just gonna take a quick jump over to Rotten Tomatoes here. And where is Rambo? Rambo to date has made $40 million worldwide. Has made $40 million worldwide. This is a movie to break even needs to come in somewhere around the $150 to $170 million range. And right now, I don't know. Now, the one thing that Rambo's got going for it is that the only other movie that opens this weekend is Abominable, which is, by the way, a really nice little animated film. I was not excited for this movie. I'm not going to put it on Pixar level or How to Train Your Dragon level or anything like that. But believe me that Abominable is a nice little movie. I don't even know what the critic score is. I'm just going to take a look, see what the critics are saying about it. Maybe they hate it. I don't know. I thought it was a charming little film. I'll be honest with you. Abominable, 80%. It's got an 80% Rotten Tomato meter, 95% a verified audience score. It is a nice little film. Again, not as smart as a lot of Pixar films. It doesn't have the same depth that something like a How to Train Your Dragon has or anything like that. But I was very pleasantly surprised by Abominable. Now, the thing is, Abominable isn't going to be a monster box office hit. They did very little marketing for it. So that is working in Rambo's favor. That's the only wide release film that's opening this weekend. So it's got a chance to still pick up some steam and make a little bit of money. But considering it looks like to me that Rambo's going to end up barely breaking even, I don't think we're going to see another one. Could be wrong. Hey, we said that about the Rocky franchise many times, and we keep getting more Rocky stuff. But I don't think we're going to get another one. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we will. All right. Coop Elite TV writes, Arrow last season. This is the final season of Arrow. It's the last one. The show that started the CW Arrowverse and all that kind of stuff. It's too bad it's ending. I mean, look, I have had a love-hate relationship with Arrow. Like, I thought it was the best thing ever for a couple of seasons. Then I thought the show went to complete crap. And then, I mean, Stephen Amell's always been great in it, but I mean, the writers, it was really shitty for a while. Then they started getting a little bit better. They did some more interesting things, and they went weak again. Then they got strong again. It's still weird, but it's just too bad that the cornerstone, the foundational show of the Arrowverse is coming to an end. And it's the end of an era. Suthius writes, Galactic level, speak for yourself. I'm universal level. We're talking about being a jackass. I'm universal level. Don't give me none of this little galactic level stuff. Vault of the Future writes, one of two. Hey, John. Currently writing sample scripts for a producer in hopes of writing of a writing assistant gig on a TV show. Interesting. Just finished a South Park script. Really? About the Area 51 raid that didn't happen. That's funny. With all the new streaming services launching next year, how high is the demand for new writers? Well, it's an interesting time for writers. There was just some great articles being written about how the world for writers have changed. Not necessarily for the better, but the demand for writers is going to get bigger. It's just what it is. The more content providers there are, the more there are more opportunities there are for actors, directors, producers, writers. So there is more need for it. Now, I'm not saying that means anybody who wants to be a writer in Hollywood is going to get a gig. I'm certainly not saying that. But opportunity is going to abound. There's going to be a lot of opportunity. And now's a good time. Now's a good time. At least that's what it feels like to me. Now's a good time. Now, again, the career of a film writer or of a screenwriter is not as good as it used to be. but there is more opportunity today. So that's something to keep your eye on, my friend. So good luck with that, man. That's ambitious. All right. Luke Blackwell writes, what's your opinion on the Maze Runner trilogy? Very interesting first film, went downhill. I thought the first one was actually pretty good. I remember the first time I saw him, like, that wasn't crap at all. It was pretty good. And then I kind of felt it went downhill after that. Patrick Conway writes, Norm, Cliff, or Frasier, who do you want to drink with? Probably Norm. Probably Norm. I mean, Norm and Cliff, really, together. Frasier, though, like, who would I want to be friends with? I would probably be Frasier. Just because he's so smart, I probably want to be friends with Frasier. But just sit down for a drink with, I think Norm and Cliff. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, oh my God, you must be young. We're talking about characters from Cheers. All right. Edward Ide writes in a large super chat. Thank you for that, Edward. I appreciate that, man. Edward Ide writes, my top 10. Number 10, Hidden Fortress. Nice. Number 9, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Number 8, Yojimbo. Number 7, MASH. Really? That is definitely the first time I've seen somebody. There are, you know what? Seriously, it's true, Edward. Tons of people don't even know MASH was a movie. A lot of people think of MASH, they just automatically think of the TV show. Understandably, it was a lot more successful. But a lot of people forget it was based on, it was a reboot, if you will, of the movie MASH with Donald Sutherland. Anyway, nice to see that on the list. Number 6, Hell in the Pacific. Number 5, Superman the movie. Number 4, The Dark Knight. Number 3, The First Avenger. Number 2, by the way, I believe probably the third most underrated comic book film of all time. The number 1 most underrated comic book film of all time to me is Man of Steel. Number 2 is the original Thor movie directed by Kenneth Branagh. Number 3, I contend, is The First Avenger. Anyway, that's me. Number 2, Rear Window. And number 1, The Day the Earth Stood Still. Dude, that is a wildly diverse thing. There's at least 3 or 4 on here that I've not seen mentioned on anybody else's top 10s. You got some very popular ones like Dark Knight, First Avenger, even though that one hasn't popped up there a lot. You got some other ones like MASH, Hidden Fortress. Very cool list, man. Very cool list. And by the way, that's a really large super chat, Edward. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level, my friend. But that's a good list. And again, ending with The Day the Earth Stood Still, the 1951 version, not to be confused with the reboot. That was not all that good whatsoever. So nice list, Edward. Thanks for sharing it, dude. That may put a smile on my face, man. That list put a smile on my face. All right. Suthius writes, I think Joseph Scrimshaw would be a good co-host for a Star Wars show. He is very knowledgeable and does have good camera presence. Seems nice too. If I don't know much about Joseph, to be honest with you, but he already does Star Wars content. So I don't know him. I just simply don't know. I would prefer it to be somebody that I know and have some sort of connection relationship. I really don't know Joseph. Nothing bad to say about Joseph whatsoever. Make no mistake about it. But I believe he already does a bunch of Star Wars content online, so I don't know that would make him a good fit for me. But hey, I'm always open to recommendations, Suthius. Always open to recommendations. All right, Swish. Oops, missed it. Where are we at? Swish writes, big fan. Thank you so much, Swish. Your show is amazing. Do you think the Star Wars this year is going to be good? What are your thoughts so far? Oh yeah, I do, because I loved The Force Awakens. Loved it. Every time I saw it, I liked it more. Now, I'm still didn't love the whole Rapthar scene with the monsters chasing him around. I didn't like that scene. I try to forget about that scene. I didn't like it. But aside from that, I love The Force Awakens. I really, really do. It is my favorite of all the new Star Wars movies. It's not as good. Nothing is as good as the original trilogy, but it's my favorite of the new films. Absolutely adore it. And you got JJ coming back. So yeah, I've got very high hopes. Now look, any movie can suck, and maybe this one will suck. Maybe it will, but I got high hopes. I got high hopes and high aspirations for it. So keeping my fingers crossed. Less than 3 months away, Swish. We are less than 3 months away from checking it out, and I'm very excited. So thank you for watching, and thank you for the kind words, man. All right. Edward Ide writes, greetings from Buffalo. Go Bills. You know, the Bills used to be my favorite team. The Bills used to be my favorite team. And then 2 things happened. And then you might say, well, why were the Buffalo Bills your favorite team? Well, see, the Buffalo Bills were my favorite team for a while, only because of geography. See, I grew up in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, the Hammer. That's my hometown, always greatest city on earth. Anyway, a hop, skip, and a jump across the border from Hamilton is Buffalo. It's really a fairly close drive to get to Buffalo. And so that was the closest NFL team. So they were my team for a long time. You know, they went to 4 Super Bowls in a row, never won, but how many teams can say they went to 4 Super Bowls in a row? Not many. Anyway, in their first Super Bowl appearance, they ran into the New York Giants. Under the leadership of coach, maybe the greatest coach in NFL history, if not the one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, Bill Parcells. Now, I became a fan of Bill Parcells after they beat my Bills. I just really got into him as a coach. And then eventually he ended up on New England. He ended up coaching the New England Patriots. So I started following the New England Patriots when Drew Bledsoe was still their quarterback. I was a lot younger, obviously, but and I started getting into them. But my fandom for Buffalo stopped. Here's where they lost me. And this is probably a painful memory for you, Edward, as it is for me. They were having great success under the leadership of the great quarterback, Doug Flutie, who was a CFL quarterback for a lot of years, won a lot of Grey Cups, won some MVPs in the CFL, went down to I believe it was on New England for a while, ended up being the starting quarterback of Buffalo. They had tremendous success under him. He led them to the playoffs. And then I believe, it's been a lot of years, but I believe he got injured for one game. So this new high draft pick kid they brought in to quarterback for the game that he was injured. And then they were going into the playoffs. Doug Flutie was healthy. And they said, nah, we're going to bench Flutie. We were replacing Flutie with this guy. Flutie just got you to the playoffs. Flutie wasn't going to win MVP, but he was playing at an MVP kind of level. What the hell are you talking about? Nah, we got this new hot kid. We're going to play the kid. It's the playoffs. It's the playoffs. What the hell are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? And then Rob Johnson was a hot name. Rob Johnson looked like he had a lot of upside, but this was Flutie's team. Can you tell I'm still upset about it? This still burns. This still burns inside. My heart still feels pain when I think about this because I was a Bills fan for so long. And I was like, what the F are you doing? And they benched Flutie. And they put in Johnson. And nothing against Johnson. And they went in and they lost. And that was it. That was it. I couldn't take any more after that. I revoked my fandom card for the Buffalo Bills. Now, I still have some love for them in my heart. I really do. When I'm checking out the scores, I'm hoping that the Bills are winning their games. I am. But anyway, at that point, too, it then became undisputed that the Patriots were then my team after that because of Bill Parcells. And then they started having all this. Anyway. But, oh, dudes, for all of you who are down in the Buffalo area, for all of you who are down in the Buffalo area, you know the pain of which I'm talking about. It was such a promising season. They had such a great quarterback. And then they pulled that BS. Sorry, guys. Sorry. This is still very painful for me. It's still very painful for me when I think about it. Oh, my God. Anyway, Raymond Verrata writes, why Tyrese is cool, a backyard hibachi restaurant. Well, I'm sure there's probably a lot of things Tyrese does is pretty cool, as a matter of fact. Connor Farley writes, very happy to see just days after mentioning it in Discord that Eon are courting Phoebe Waller-Bridge to return to Bond 26, this time solo. I don't remember that. And is that true? Is that true? I haven't read that. If so, that's an interesting development. I'll have to look that up. I'll have to look up and see what's going on there. Thanks for the info, dude. James Bonner writes, saw Cinderella again recently. Still the best Disney live action adaptation of an animated film, in my opinion. I love Cinderella. Again, it didn't look great to me, but I had some hope because the great Kenneth Branagh was directing it, and it had Lily James. Lily James. It had Lily James in it, who's just so fantastic and beautiful and talented and just stupid good. I loved Cinderella. And yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with you, James. I think it's the best live action animated to live action version they've done. I loved Aladdin too. I really like Aladdin a lot, but Cinderella's got a special place in my heart. All right, JB Bonifacio writes, maybe it's the charmingly low stakes of it all, but I really enjoyed Downton Abbey movie and plan to try out the series. Dowager Countess for the win. I really enjoyed it. I did. And Maggie Smith, oh my God, she's so good in it. I never argue. I explain. So good. It's all just about the characters. And you're right. They make the most profoundly mundane things seem incredibly dramatic and important. Who gets to serve dinner tonight? How are we going to fix the hot water heater before company arrives? These are the big important issues of Downton Abbey, and they find a way to make it charming. And I listen, it's not targeted at people like me, but I got to admit, dude, I found it pretty charming. All right. Epic Dub Time 23 writes, what did Steve Rogers order at Tim's? And by Tim's, he means Tim Hortons Donuts, Timmy's, or also as we call it, an iced cap. Boom, boom. All right. Tom Waters writes, just joined the Discord. Time to watch Gladiator for the first time. Nice. I'm glad you're going to watch for the first time. Is the book club going to be for all Patreons or just certain levels? You know what? I haven't 100% decided yet. See, here's the thing. So our highest level, aside from the Pat Campea level, which is $100 a month, Pat Campea level is also mostly a joke because I created because my dad is Pasquale Campea. Pasquale is my dad. And I created that for him. And it actually says in the description, come on, Dad, kick in. Anyway, so it's meant to be my dad. But other than that, the highest level Patreon supporter is a $15 level. And on Discord, we call that Patreon royalty. But here's the thing. People support the channel using the Patreon royalty level is awesome. But right now, I don't really have anything for the Patreon royalty members that isn't available to other people. Like, we've got 3 levels. We got $2 a month, we got $5 a month, and we got $15 a month. And right now, everything that the $5 a month people get is the same things that our Patreon royalty gets. And I think we would all agree that it's only fair that the higher level supporters get something that's exclusive to them that's not available to the tiers below them. And right now, I don't have something for our royalty members. And I'm wondering, I'm not a Patreon pro by any stretch of the imagination. I'm wondering if maybe Movie Club might be the thing that can be exclusively for them. Or maybe I come up with something else that's exclusive for them when we open it up to like $15 and $5 a month. Now, here's the thing. The Movie Club is going to be in a specific channel on the Discord server. So we're going to have a Movie Club channel. And right now, all the channels other than General Chat, we have the General Chat channel, which is available to all Patreon members. But then we have specific channels like the Post John Campea Show Post Chat and Ideas and Recommendations and Best Movie Memes and other channels like that you have to be a $5 or $15 member to access those ones. So maybe I come up with something else. I haven't really decided yet, but I will let everybody know with plenty of advance notice. What will probably end up happening, Tom, is that it'll be for $5 and $15 members. That's what it'll probably be for, I guess. But give me a little bit more time to think about it, and I'll take your guys' recommendations. I look in the Discord 3 or 4 times a day. I'm in the Discord server 3 or 4 times a day. So if you got a thought on that, leave it in there. I'd love to see it. All right. Steve Trow writes, hey, John, The Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, and Variety are all saying the new Spider-Man deal is going to be co-financed by Sony and Disney. Again, you obviously missed the beginning. No, they're not. They're saying very different things. One is saying co-financing. One is saying one is just kicking in roughly a quarter of the thing. So that's Variety. Again, let me read Variety statements specifically, word for word. Disney will retain merchandising rights and put up roughly a quarter of the financing. That is very different from a legit co-financing deal. However, to confuse the matter, Deadline is specifically saying that it's a co-financing deal. You missed it earlier, but I wrote to somebody connected with the situation. I brought up the email earlier, and I asked them, what's going on? Has Sony surrendered part of their rights? And what they said was, and this is totally confusing to me, said it's not a, let me bring it up here so I can read it. It is not a co-finance deal in the traditional terms. What that means, I don't know. In this case, Sony has not compromised its rights with the Spider-Man or rights with the Spider-Man, or its adjacent characters. What does that mean? I don't know. In a traditional co-financing deal, you split up some rights. You get some ownership rights. If you on paper are a co-financer of a movie, you get some ownership in that. However, some people are saying it's not co-financing. They're just putting up some money. That does not make you a legit co-financer. But if it is a co-finance, then that's telling me that Sony protected all of its rights. Okay. But to me, it's a very evolving and a very confusing situation. So I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. Anyway, but we talked about that at length earlier in the show, Steve, just so you're aware. We talked about it quite at length earlier in the show. You might want to go back after the show is done and see some of our initial responses to that. Anyway, Herman Muller writes, I'm thinking the floating 1/4 financing deal with Disney might be to protect MCU stuff in a Sony film. You bring the puck and sticks, the net is mine. It could be. It very, very much could be. Like I said, in a contract, you can put in anything you want. And maybe they use the language of a co-financing deal, but they put in the contract that all the rights are protected. All the Spider-Man rights are protected for Sony, and Disney puts in special language to give extra protection to their characters. I don't know. Again, we appraise and change our opinions based on new information that comes out. That's what rational people do anyway. As new information becomes available, we change our perceptions. With the information that's out right now, with conflicting information all over the place, I'm hearing certain things. It's still confusing me. I have no idea what's going on. Again, it seems to make most sense to me that they've entered some sort of an arrangement whereas Sony protects all of its Spider-Man rights. It seems to me, but I don't know. I just don't know at this point. If Spider-Man has surrendered, or if Sony has surrendered any of their Spider-Man rights, then they are the biggest idiots in the world. And they deserve to go under. I'm being told that's not what they did, but who knows at this point? Who knows? I simply don't know. But what you're saying, Herman, could totally be part of the scenario here. Absolutely. Let's see. A3 writes, I get why Disney wanted a deal, but why Sony? The Hollywood Reporter mentioned Sony feeling they didn't need Feige anymore and profit 100% without sharing the former 5% and new 25%. So was it just money for Sony? I don't know that it was just me. Look, I think at the end of the day, they all realized, Sony knew, Disney knew, the fans knew. We all benefited from their relationship. It was a good deal for everybody. And if you could extend that, why not? The fans are loving what Sony's doing with Spider-Verse and Venom and all that kind of stuff. The fans are all loving the partnership they had with Disney and having Spider-Man in the MCU. Everybody's happy. Everybody's making money. There's no downside. And I've always said Sony will be fine without Marvel and Marvel will be fine without Spider-Man. But the best scenario is for them to work together. And I think they knew that. Not to mention the sudden abrupt ending of Spider-Man in the MCU turned a lot of people off. And if they can come up with a deal now, say, you know what, let's do another Spider-Man movie and another movie of Spider-Man in the MCU to kind of transition him out of the MCU, I think it's going to go over a lot easier with the fans. So I see the upside for both Disney and Sony. I think it's a good deal for both of them. I really do. Daryl Best Wadley writes, love the Wu-Tang Saga on Hulu. Are you a fan of Wu-Tang? I mean, look, growing up, I listened to a bunch of them. I don't know anything about the story of Wu-Tang. I mean, I've had a chance to sit down with a number of them, actually. Hold on a second. I mean, I've actually been lucky enough that on 2 separate occasions, I've had a chance to get together and hang out a little bit with RZA, which was always great. I remember the first time I met RZA was when he did The Man with the Iron Fists. Is that what the name of it? Man with the Iron Fists? Or just Iron Fist? I think it was Man with the Iron Fist. That's the first time I had a chance to meet him. And he was extremely cool. Extremely cool. But I have not had a chance to watch the series yet. Just too many other things on the list to watch. I just don't have time, unfortunately. Jmeister25 writes, top 25 comic book movies. 5, Thor Ragnarok. I love that one. 4, The Dark Knight. 3, Logan. 2, Infinity War. Number 1, Endgame. I don't think I have Endgame in my top 5. I love Endgame. Love it. I have too many problems with it though for it to be top 5 for me. Like my top 3 are the first Avengers, Logan, and The Dark Knight. Those are my top 3. But then probably Civil War is up there. Probably, yeah, I'm not sure Infinity War or Endgame are in my top 5. Nothing. I love those movies. Love them. But I don't know if either of them are my top 5. It's interesting. Anyway, Red, where are we at here? Red Loberton writes. Ooh, sorry guys. Throat's starting to get a little bit sore. Okay. Red Loberton writes, hey, John, I've been a fan for a long time. Thank you so much, dude. Are you good at drawing? No. Nope. If you are and could make a cartoon show, what would you make? Oh, something sci-fi, I would do. No, listen, I am very comfortable with the fact that the universe is in balance. You know, you're good at certain things, you're bad at other things. And I'm comfortable with that. You know, I wanted to be a rock star for a long time. I played in bands, all that kind of stuff. I wanted to be a rock star for a long time. And I'm not bad. But, you know, I came to the realization I ain't good enough. I'm never going to be able to make music as a profession. You know, you hit that point, you realize, you know, I'm not good enough to do this pro. I'm just not good enough. And that's fine. And I'm comfortable with that. I still have got my guitar. I still play music. I still record music for fun and all that kind of stuff. And I still enjoy it greatly. And I'm totally comfortable with the fact that I was never going to have the talent and I was never good enough to actually be a real musician, you know, comfortable with that. But there is one thing that I lose sleep over. And that is the fact that I cannot draw worth crap. Like, no. Some people say they can't draw, but what it really means is they just can't draw well. I suck. I can barely do stickmen. I'm serious. If there was one thing in this world that I could say I could snap my fingers and I would have that talent, it would be drawing. I wish I could draw. So I got this buddy of mine named Matt, who some of you would remember him if you've been following me for a long time. He used to be a co-host on a show I did called For Your Consideration. This is before we started doing For Your Consideration at Dennis's place and all that kind of stuff. But in the early days, For Your Consideration, Matt did my show with me. Anyway, Matt is a ridiculously good illustrator. And I just get so mad when I see people who can draw. Dude, I cannot draw worth crap, not worth anything at all in the world. I've tried to learn it. I'm just terrible. I'm awful. And if there was one gift, one skill that I could pick in the universe to have, it would be drawing. I wish I could, which makes me just admire people who can actually draw so much. I admire it so much. Anyway, Suthius writes, if you end up getting rid of your PS4, maybe you could sign it and auction it off to fellow viewers for the charity of your choice. Just a thought. Here's the problem with that, Suthius. It's just a logistics problem. How do I select who gets it? Because there are rules. There are legal rules you got to follow. Then there is the actual logistics. How do I get it to them? Because it costs a lot to ship stuff. When I could just hop on Craigslist and say, hey, somebody come give me $150 and take this thing away. It's a lot easier that way. So it's just too logistically, it's a logistical nightmare. I don't think I would do that. It's just, now doing like we did a few weeks ago with a poster, that's easy. I just throw a poster in a tube, ship it off for $5. I mean, that's easy. But I mean, something like a game system, that's harder. So, all right. It's not a bad idea. It's not something that I think I could practically do, unfortunately. Okay. Ben Reiner writes, chances of Robot Man and Crazy Jane show up in Crisis. Some other people have asked that. What do I think about? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see any of the cast from Titans or Doom Patrol or anything like that show up in there. I think those are being done by complete separate entities that have nothing to do with each other. So I don't think so. But as always, we have seen stranger things happen. So chances, I'll give it 3% at most. 3%. 3% chance that happens. Yusuf Alvi writes, do you think we'll ever see Jared Leto as the Joker again? Something tells me he won't be there. I think there's a good chance. but I don't know if I'd say over 50%. I think there's a 40% chance we see him again. I personally liked his Joker. I did. I liked Suicide Squad. I know it's a hot mess of a movie, but I thought the best thing about Suicide Squad was actually Joker and Harley and their dysfunctional, terrible, toxic, codependent relationship. I loved watching it. I thought one of the biggest weaknesses of Suicide Squad was that it needed more Joker. But that's just me. I think there's a chance, but if I had to put money on it, I'd say no. I'd say 40% chance. 40% chance. Yusuf, this sends in a really large super chat. Thank you for that, Yusuf. Appreciate that, man. Yusuf writes in, how do you know when a report that says they have a reliable source should be taken seriously? For example, there are times like you telling us Batflick was out and it broke my heart was correct, but others can be false. I mean, it all depends on who it's coming from. It all depends on who it's coming from. I mean, look, in the past 3 years, I've only ever I'm not in the scoop business for a couple of reasons. One, it's far too easy to be wrong, and I hate it when I mislead my audience. And it happens, but I hate it when it happens. I hate it when I realize I've given my audience incorrect information. I hate it. It burns in my brain when I find out that I've given my audience wrong information. It kills me. It absolutely kills me. And the scoop game is such a stupid game that I just basically, so I don't go, by the way, who cares? Scoops, you know what scoops are? Scoops are bits of information that everybody was going to find out anyway. Scoop, so-and-so is going to star in this movie. Okay, we eventually would have found that out anyway. Like that's eventually information that they just would have announced to us anyway. So you've really given nothing to us. When I told everybody a year before, or 2 years before they made it official finally, that Ben Affleck was out, the reality is it was eventually going to become public knowledge anyway. So what did I do? I just gave you information that you were going to get eventually anyway. So I didn't add anything to it. Scoops are dumb. We all are fascinated by them, me included. We're all fascinated by them, but really scoops are dumb. Unless the scoop is something that never would have become public knowledge. And there are some of those. Like when those come out, like we never would have known this ever. We never would have known this if this outlet didn't discover it through journalistic work and report on it. But other than that, 98 times out of 100, scoops or exclusives, as all the websites love putting in their titles, exclusive. What is it? What is it? Oh, it's just a piece of information that would have become public eventually anyway. And we all would have known about in just a couple of days anyway. So I don't really care about the scoop business. So in the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years, the only scoops I have broken are 3 things. Number 1, I said the Batman thing. Number 2, I let you guys know that the director I was the first guy to tell everybody the director from what was going to be the Nightwing series was splitting and why. Number 3, well, and then the other situation revolving around that about why he hadn't come back. But anyway. And then 3, I was the first person to tell everybody, hey, these upcoming Star Wars films, they're not the Rian Johnson ones. They're actually the Benioff and Weiss ones. But then again, every single time though, that's all just information that became public a little bit later anyway. So it's not like I added anything to the conversation. Scoops are ridiculous. But anyway, for me, generally, when it comes, it's all who says they have a reliable source. If it's Deadline, if it's Variety, if it's the Hollywood Reporter, I believe it. I believe it. They have earned, are they 100% right? No, but they are right such a high percentage of the time that, yeah, you can just go, yeah. But if it's a site that puts out a new reliable sources tell us like every single day, and they're wrong half the time or more, then I just don't listen to it. Not that they're never right, but they're right such a small percentage of the time that it's just not worth listening to. And even if it is correct, it's going to come out in a few days anyway. So I just pay no attention to it. That's why I tell people there are certain websites that I'm not saying they're not great websites. I'm just saying for this one particular thing of breaking news and scoops in that one area, don't bother writing to me or asking me to make that a topic on my show if it's something that came from one of those sites, because they just have such a tiny percentage of ever being correct that, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So when it's from a really reputable place, like Hollywood Reporter, Variety, whatever, then I take it. I even tell people, though, that like when I'm telling you something, it's like, hey, listen, take it with a grain of salt because it's coming from me. But I trust this person who told me this information. I know that this information is correct. And it's up to you if you want to believe it or not, and that's cool. I'm just letting you know what I know. But I'm not Variety, and I'm not the Hollywood Reporter, and I'm not Deadline. But again, it's all from this really weird scoop game that everybody's in that is ultimately a useless game. Because if you're wrong, you mislead the viewers. And let's face it, there are outlets and websites that do not care if they mislead people. They don't care. As long as they get some clicks. That's all they care about. Say, we've got a source that says this, woo, and everybody pays attention to it, talks about it, and goes click, 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 click. That's all they care about. They don't care if they misled the audience. I remember one of the biggest gaffes I ever had. Oh, and this is painful for me to think about. I had it from multiple sources, good sources, that Snoke was indeed Darth Plagueis. I had it from three good sources that Snoke was Darth Plagueis. And I felt so good about that it was real. I got on my shows and I said, I can report to everybody that this Snoke character we keep hearing about that's coming up in the new Star Wars The Force Awakens movies is indeed Darth Plagueis. I've done some digging around. I've talked to a number of sources, and I can report to you that it is Darth Plagueis. Guess what happened? It wasn't Darth Plagueis. I got contacted by Disney shortly after making that statement, and Disney was just like, "Listen, it's not Darth Plagueis, just so you know." And I remember the very next show I did, I got on camera and I was pissed. Not at anybody who gave me wrong information, not at Disney for getting a hold of me to let me know I was wrong. I was so pissed at myself. I don't know if any of you guys remember that show, if you saw that show. I was so fucking mad. I was so mad. And I said at the time, and I meant it, and I still do, it's like, this can't happen. I can't get on here and give false information. That can't happen. It's going to happen. Look, it'll happen accidentally. Look, when you're talking about 75 different subjects in a single day, that's going to happen. But when it's something that's within your control, and I made a decision that based on the sources I heard that I felt confident in saying that, and it wasn't true. And that meant I was part of the reason that caused confusion amongst my fellow film fans because I gave information that I told them was the truth and it wasn't true. Now this is going back years, but still, it still burns me. It still burns me. And I hate that. That's why I don't like being in the scoop game. I don't care about scoop game. I don't care about putting the term exclusive in my headline, although I'm sure I've done it. Because the idea of me misleading my fellow film fans and causing confusion amongst the film fan community burns me. It burns me to no end. I can't live with it. I just can't live with it. But anyway, that's a... Oh, God, that bothered me. See, you got me thinking about the Buffalo Bills. You got me thinking about that damn Darth Plagueis situation. Anyway, but the bottom line to me, Yusuf, is simply this. If it's from one of the big trades, go with it. It may not 100% be true, but you can go under the assumption that it's true. If it's from one of these other sites, go on the assumption that it's not, but file it away because maybe it'll end up being true. Maybe it won't. But if it's true, it'll come out that it's true. And until then, just file it away and don't ever worry about it. Like any scoop that breaks on Cosmic Book News or breaks on whatever, just don't bother with it. Just don't bother with it because it's most likely not true. And if it is true, we'll find out in a few days anyway. So that's my approach to it. That's my personal approach to it anyway. Okay. Anthony, where'd we go? Anthony Trulio writes, when is the next Star Wars trailer expected? I mean, they're not saying officially. I think by the end of the first week of October. I've got no insider information on that. I have no reliable sources telling me that. I just believe by the end of the first week of October, we'll get it. That's my guess. That's when I'm expecting it. It might be longer than that, but that's when I expect it. Sharon Carter writes, would you consider Johnny Depp one of the most versatile and prolific actors of his generation? Also, though he's not amongst your top 10, is he amongst your honoree list? No. Now, let me qualify that. I think Johnny Depp can be a very, very good actor. But one of the problems with Depp, particularly in the last 10 years, has been, we're talking about diversity of character. He's just done the weirdo, crazy character so many times. It's like, oh, look, I'm in the costume and I'm just this weird character. I mean, he's just done it so many times that I remember for years, we were all asking the question, when's Johnny Depp just going to act again? When's he just going to be in a movie and act? We get it. Captain Jack was wonderful, but that doesn't mean that every single one of your movies now has to be one of these weird things where you get up in all this makeup and blah, 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 blah. Now, for the record, I really liked him in Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I thought he was very good in that movie. I also thought he was pretty damn solid in Black Mass. I should say. Black Mask is something totally different. Black Mass. I thought he was very good in that. Academy level, no, but I thought he was really, really quite good in it. But no. I think Johnny Depp is an actor I think is very good. I get intrigued when I know he's in a movie, but is he in the conversation to me of amongst the great actors of all time, of our generation, or even the nominee or an honoree list? Probably not. Very much respect him. I think he's very good. If I'm a producer of a movie and I have a chance to have Johnny Depp in my movie, hell yes, I'm doing it. But do I think he's one of the best or even in the conversation as of being amongst the best of the generation? Probably not. But that's not to take away to say that I think he's very good. But I'm gonna lean towards probably not on that one. At least I know a lot of people would put him on that list. And that's great. But for me, probably not. All right. Edgar Navarro writes, Patreon royalty should get the breakdown. That will never see the light of day. That will never see the light of day. To my knowledge, there are 2 existing videos of me breakdancing back in the day when I used to be a breakdancer. You heard me right. I used to be a breakdancer. One is on a VHS tape, and I know exactly where that tape is. I know where it is. Not only do I know what box it's in and where that box is, I know where in the box that tape is. I'm very cognizant of the position. Then there's one digital file of it that is not on any hard drive. It's on a CD-ROM. And I know exactly in what CD-ROM book. For those of you who remember having a lot of CDs, you had these cases that were books of pages in them that you could put CDs in. I know which book it's in. I know which page it's on. I know what that disc looks like. There are 2 existing physical things of video of me breakdancing still in existence. And I know exactly where they are, and they will never see the light of day. Y'all can become Pat Campea level supporters on Patreon. It don't matter. That video ain't ever seeing the light of day. The only way I'm ever going to break dance again or have one of those videos come out, if somebody comes along with very deep pockets and says, hey, Campea, I will donate $100,000 to whatever women's shelter, like a family and women's shelter in Los Angeles. I will donate, $75,000 to a food bank, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take something on that level for that to ever happen. And even then, I don't know if it's a guarantee. So, nope, Edgar, that ain't happening. Edgar writes, your breakdance, to be specific. Yeah, no, I got it. And nope, ain't happening, buddy. Ain't happening. All right, Casinema Reviews writes, I'm just scared that after episode 9, Lucasfilm's going to say no more complex stories and arcs. People will get mad if they don't go the direction they think. Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. Remember, the great NFL coach said, coaches who listen to the fans are destined to be sitting with them next week. And that's true. They're not the football experts. You are. The coach is the expert. Film studios need to listen to what the audience is saying, but never be dictated by what the audience is saying. You're the filmmakers. You're the studio. Some of the greatest successes in film history have been doing things completely contrary to what the popular opinion would have been at the time. And they need to listen to themselves, and they need to do what they think is the best movie made, and then live or die by that. So I think Lucasfilm, look, Bob Iger is not somebody who is swayed by the changing tides of public opinion. He's not swayed by that. Neither is Alan Horn. Alan Horn has been in this business too many decades to be swayed by that. So I'm not really worried about it. They're going to make the movies that they think are the best movies to make, period. And what's popular today won't necessarily be popular tomorrow. What everybody's angry about today isn't necessarily what everybody's going to be angry about tomorrow. So you got to not worry about that. And you need to just make the movies you want to make. And I think they will. Yusuf Alvi writes, where do you think Todd Phillips' career goes after Joker, by the way? I didn't think he was capable of doing something like the Joker. I don't see why not. Look, Kevin Feige once told me when I asked him about, you guys have heard me tell the story, when I asked him about, what made you go for a guy when we were getting close to Guardians of the Galaxy coming out. You guys remember I had, the producer, the director, the star all in. And I asked him, why was he the right director to make this movie? Okay. Why was he the right guy to make this movie? And he looked at me and said, because he had never done up to that. He did Slither and he did stuff like that. Which is, by the way, still my favorite movie he's ever done. But he had never done anything on the level of Guardians of the Galaxy, of a Marvel film. And what Kevin Feige said was, well, we knew because a good storyteller is a good storyteller. Doesn't matter if it's on a small budget film, a big budget film, a comedy, sci-fi, action. If you're somebody who's really good at making movies, if you're somebody who's really excellent at telling stories, if you're somebody who's got a sense for that and knows how to do it, then it doesn't matter whether it's a low budget indie or a super high budget thing. It doesn't matter if it's a horror or if it's sci-fi or whatever. A good storyteller is a good storyteller. And so even though Gunn had never done anything like that, they went with him for Guardians of the Galaxy and it worked out. With Todd Phillips, he's made some really good movies. He's made some not so great movies as well. But I think it all came to concept and see where does his career go from here? It's hard to say because remember, amongst all the excitement about Joker, remember this, I still haven't seen it. Most of us have still not seen it, right? Still haven't seen it. So can't be all, so let me see the movie and get a sense of what Phillips did in the movie and what his approach to it was and what his pacing is like. Let me get a sense of that. And then maybe we can start to speculate for fun about where he might go next. Like the guy who did The Hangover is the same guy who did The Joker. Where does he go? But let me at least, it's hard to say when I haven't seen the movie yet, Yusuf, but I'm very excited to see it. That's for sure. All right. Nick Barbera writes, where do you think Nick Barbera, what are your thoughts on Denzel as an actor? Oh, come on. He's one of the greatest of all time. Denzel is Denzel. That's like asking, what do you think about Al Pacino as an actor? It's Al Pacino. It's Denzel Washington. It's Academy Award multi-nominated, one of the most iconic actors of all time, Denzel Washington. He's fabulous, man. All right, Marie Seifring writes, I'd far rather be happy than right any day. Oh, that sounds familiar. I'd rather be happy than right any day. I don't know. I don't know where that one's from. Can't place it. Do you guys know it in the chat board? Does anybody in the chat board know what that is? I'd rather be happy than right any day. Anybody in the chat board know it? I'm looking over there right now. I don't see anybody saying it. All right. I'll look back over again in a minute to see if any of you guys know what that one is, but I don't know what it is off the top. It sounds familiar. It sounds really familiar, but I don't know. Okay. Last question of the day, guys. So this is going to be it. We've gone over 3 hours. This is the last question of the day. Last question today. Don't put in any more, please. Comes to us from Brett WB, who writes, looks like it's time for a GoFundMe for the breakdance video. Nope. Not gonna happen. Again, listen, I'll take a meeting and I'll hear your proposal. If you want to come to me with a proposal of, I will donate $1 million to starving children in the city or in the world, whatever, if you do a breakdancing thing, I will take that meeting and I will listen to you. Some people are saying, by the way, it's Kingpin that said, see, the statement sounds familiar, but I don't remember that. But okay, I'll take your guys' word because a couple of you guys are saying Kingpin. I'll take your word for it. Anyway, I would take a meeting, but I still don't think it would happen. But I don't know. I would have to consider it. I would obviously have to consider it. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you guys for being here and being a part of it and spending part of your weekend with us here. Guys, it's always an honor and privilege to be a part of that. So thank you to all of you guys who not only watch the videos, but sent in the questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way while you're doing it. And I am deeply, deeply grateful for that. So thank you so much for that. All right, guys, listen, I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your weekend, a fabulous time ahead of you for tonight and tomorrow and all that kind of stuff. Make sure, by the way, guys, let me ask you to do a couple quick things here while you're here. If you want to help the channel, click on the subscribe button, become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. Also, interaction with the channel always helps on YouTube. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy these types of conversations, and make sure that you keep the conversation going and leave a comment in the comments section below as you do it. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today for this installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here, or Open Mic say, get them confused all the time. So thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.